could be to form that the Spanish company owns a local company, and it does, and it moves shareholder equity into it. So the Spanish company is investing into Paraguayan company, okay? So shareholder equity, which an LLC doesn't have. This is why I can't suggest to do it in the LLC, because the LLC doesn't have per se a shareholder equity amount. While here, if you were to be okay, our company is opening a sucursal, which is like a subdivision in Paraguay, and they need money to get started, you know? So this is an investment we are putting down. And then you have your, it's completely tax-free because it's an investment, and you have the money in Paraguay. This is a very common way to operate. This you can also do in other countries, not necessarily in Paraguay, because you can form a company in Hong Kong, for instance, etc. But the idea is like that company will be owned by your Spanish company, but the assets are held abroad. You know, so the Spanish Hacienda is kind of not touching the bank accounts. In Paraguay, you also have another big benefit, which is the banking secrecy, which is another reason why it can be easier or more convenient, because if you open an account somewhere else, still Spain will know what your company has right there. If you do it here, the Hacienda will not know what you have here. So which is
so it's not that easy then.
No, not that easy, because it's not in your personal name. And in Spain, companies are very formal. They're not like the US LLCs where you're just like, yeah, we'll just send the money away. So that is the thing. But
can it be, for instance, not a monthly amount, just one very large amount as a?
If you were to invest in shareholder equity into a different company, yes.
But not as a LLC sending an invoice to a Spanish company.
Sending an invoice for €1 million, you will have to reply some questions. Well, you can get very lucky, and like you can win the lottery as well. So it can be that they don't ask questions, but it would be. I would be very surprised. I would be very surprised.
And if you have contracts, I mean, let's say it's an intermediation in a deal that is done, and that there's contracts set up before the deal, that a certain percentage is paid to the LLC for the intermediation of the deal.
Yes. But again, it's an intermediation on a. So you have X here, and you're gonna pay all you have to an intermediary.
No, not all.
No, okay, a part of it. Okay, yeah, that can be done. But again, then you will only move like, what is the intermediation fee on a normal contract? 3%, 4%?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, depends on the deal. No, but the Spanish company does a deal.
Yes.
Yeah, and the Spanish company is getting a percentage, let's say, or half a percentage, and the other one is moving 1.5% or 2.5%.
But then what happens to the actual money? Where are you relocating the money from Spain at that point?
To the LLC.
As intermediary fee. But again, like, make an example of what deal can have an intermediation fee that is
a real estate deal.
A real estate deal? Okay, so you have a real estate deal worth how much in this example?
In this example, 500 million.
Okay, so the LLC can get $1 million if the real estate deal is worth 500 million.
Mm-hmm.
But if the Spanish company is investing 500 million in a deal, it has to be reasonable that the Spanish company has 500 million to invest in a deal.
No, it's not the Spanish. So the Spanish company is an intermediate as well.
There are two intermediaries in this deal.
So we're selling something for 500 million.
Who is selling for 500 million?
The Spanish company has the rights to sell a thing for 500 million. So they have the rights. It's not theirs.
Okay.
Yeah, so they have the rights to sell this. They have a buyer that buys it, and the percentage goes to the Spanish company. A percentage for the deal.
Yes.
Intermediation.
I got it. But then how does the money flow to the LLC? at this point?
The LLC writes an invoice to the Spanish company.
For the same thing? For being the same intermediary in the same deal?
Yeah. So it's another intermediate for this deal.
And takes away all the profit from the deal. So kind of the Spanish...
No, not all the profit, but a good part.
And do you have like some company you could use as on the contract can be written that this company is investing 500 million in it? Because that's to be kind of, if it's like Nestle is your friend and be like writing
So there is an investment, so there's an investor that buys the property.
Yes. But do we have some action? Do you have something that you could write on a contract like this person?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well. Okay.
Yeah, written in the contracts, of course.
It's doable. I think it's just slightly risky for the amount because I'd rather never lose such a big amount of money. So there could be, I think, easier ways to get around this problem, which can either involve, like, if the Spanish company is active and really doing something that is about customer service, marketing, or ads, really forming a maquila company and just relocating the accounting, marketing, blah, 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 to an operation in Paraguay that can legitimately be invoicing a lot of money because they're producing a lot of value for the company, which means the money is declared, it's taxed at 1% because that's the maquila. And it's, easy invoiced in the financial system. If the Hacienda wants to ask, you can show that you have relocated completely all the servicing of your company to Paraguay. That's legit, etc. So that's one thing. Another thing, the company in Spain could be buying some assets in the US or in Paraguay, for instance, which should technically be their assets, but you can then form a fideicomiso, which is a trust, in which you are the beneficiary of those assets. So that is, for instance, a way to make the assets completely impossible to touch by anyone, by the Hacienda, by anyone, because the assets are here, but they form a patrimonio separado, which is a completely separate wealth, separate patrimony that is only part of the trust. And so if you're the beneficiary of the trust, then you can collect rent, for instance, on those properties that you have done. Or if it's land, you can rent it out, you can sell it at one point, etc., and you can just pass it to the beneficiary at some point. So that is, for instance, a way to do it that would involve more traceable assets, big assets and purchases that can be like literally shown if anyone wants to claim that something is wrong about this thing or sketchy about this thing. It could be showing all the paperwork and rest assured that it's all fine. But if I have a fake contract for $500 million and there is $1 million intermediation fee and I am the intermediary, but the LLC is also an intermediary that's invoicing me, it can be a little bit sketchy, honestly. Or another possibility is to just be patient and instead of say if there is liquidity and we want to keep it safe, we transform it into something safe first. I don't know, Bitcoin, gold, something. So the company still owns it, but it's not some depreciating asset. And little by little, invoice here, invoice there, invoice here, invoice there, over the course of a year, a year and a half maybe. Yeah, it's 100% doable. Or for instance, if you want to buy your own house here or your own car here, the Spanish company can buy it, put it into the fideicomiso, you're the beneficiary, and so you have the right to use the house, you have the right to use the car. So that is another expense, for instance, that instead of doing with your own money, you've done with the company's money, and you've moved out some funds, completely legally, completely traceable, they're in the trust, you're the beneficiary, everything's fine. So that is, for instance, a good way to put it, and especially because once it's in the fideicomiso, it's not yours anymore. I mean, it is part of the fideicomiso, so it's unattackable. And that means it's very safe at that point and not attackable anymore. What is your biggest fear as of now? Is that you don't trust the Spanish banking system?
No, I want to be prepared for this. And that's why I'm looking for somebody that can help me with this.
Yeah.
And I thought, I mean, I have no idea.
There are multiple routes. I think we can present maybe 5 routes, see what makes the most sense. It's something that I would really like to have like an hour to think about because it's more complicated. But there are different routes. In the meantime, if you're worried, if I were you and if I was really worried, my guess, well, for the moment of the market cycle, we are now maybe not Bitcoin, but keeping it in gold in the meantime, so that, you know, if the bank collapses, if hyperinflation hits, if a war breaks out, whatever happens, at least, yes, it's the company's gold, but at least it's gold, you know? So at least it's safe. And then if I need a year to move the money, I will take 1 year to move the money. But in the meantime, it's safe. That is the thing you can do tomorrow to keep it safe. And in the meantime, anything that you will do in this thing to move the money out will not take like a week or 3 business days. So in the meantime, it's important to shelter it. And then moving it in a smart way. So
Okay.
yeah, why not?
So then we'll come back to this.
Sure, 100%. No, sorry, because then he became the new person on the first line. Don't worry. Where are you from, mate?
I'm from Holland.
Oh, nice. Okay, so Tim Holland is already there.
Yeah.
I didn't actually have any questions at the moment.
Okay,
I just wanted to listen what the question, maybe some questions come up that I was wondering.
amazing. All right, you're an expert now. Do you still have questions? Joking.
Is there an inheritance tax in Paraguay?
No, there is no inheritance tax.
And what about gift tax?
Yeah, there is a gift tax. It is the general 10% because, of course, it's supposedly to avoid that people start donating everything instead of selling. You can even do in-life inheritance in Paraguay, which is the famous trato abreviado, which is a way you can pass down your assets earlier on. And again, as we were mentioning, there is the fideicomiso, which is like a trust also to do the type of thing the same way, even though trusts here are not unlimited. Trusts here only last for 30 years. And so they're not really a great deal when it comes
Can I ask a
to...
question? What is the advantage of having a trust in Paraguay rather than one of those, former British colonies?
It's completely different things. In Paraguay, the trust is not a vehicle to let's say, shelter your money. It's a way to handle your business. So let's do an example that is a very simple example. You form a trust because you're like scared that we will scam you and we will not give you your cedula. Okay. So I'm like, well, if you want, we can wait until you have the cedula to pay. You'll pay more, but we can do it. In the meantime, how do we make sure that the money is on the table, that you're not trying to scam us and get away with the cedula without paying? We can form a fideicomiso. I can be the beneficiary. You can be the person who forms the trust. And here is the nice thing. In Paraguay, the protector of the trust, the trustee, can only be a financial institution. It cannot be anybody, So we have a trusted third party, let's say Itaú Bank, and we put it very clear that once your cedula is ready, the beneficiary takes all the wealth in the trust, which is the amount of money you paid down in the beginning. And when you form the trust, the moment you sign, you have to immediately transfer everything that you said is going to be part of the wealth of the trust. So you don't have like buffer time to put it down, which makes it so that it's a very common escrow.
It's like an
Escrow. It's also used a lot in real estate deals because you have the land. I want to develop it, but I don't have the money to pay you down the land. So I will pay you with apartments once I have built the building. That is another thing we can do, And then basically you have rights on the future apartments in the trust, and the same way goes. Like when the apartments are built, the trust gets dissolved by moving the ownership of the land to the developer and moving the ownership of the rights over the apartments to you. And there's another million ways that they are used, honestly, even with cars, etc., etc. But it's a way to have a trusted third party handling some assets, and you have all the rules you put in place. So the trusted third party, if you say don't touch the money, you can just keep it safe, they will just keep it safe. Don't touch the land, they won't touch the land. It's a bit limiting, the fact that it can only be a financial institution, because, for instance, I cannot have a plot of land in my trust and have a trustee that is a farming group that knows how to farm it. So that is kind of stupid. But at least we can both agree that Continental or Itaú or Bueno won't be such an easy third party to bribe, and then because kind of the reputation is
Coming back to that, you give tax. It doesn't matter for tax purposes if the parties of this contract, like specifically, if the money comes from outside of Paraguay, say a donor lives in Europe or US, whatever, and the money goes to Paraguay, does it, for the tax, not the income, but the gift tax purposes, does it matter that it's from outside of Paraguay?
Well, it's always the same thing, right? When we talk about inheritance, the point is that the person who dies is dead, so they don't care. Then they're not residing anywhere anymore. Gift tax. Yeah. When it comes to gift tax, it's this is a good question. I'm not 100% certain, but I'm pretty sure that due to the territoriality of taxes in Paraguay, if it comes from abroad, it should be exempt from taxation. 99% sure. I will get back to it. When it comes to the point of not taxing it, though, it will be certainly very hard to try and bank that money. Because generally speaking, even if you have like a donation contract, say, and paid zero taxes on it,
some sort of annuities from, I don't know, maybe foundation, maybe natural person, that would fall under kind of a gift.
Well, if you have an annuity from a foundation, then it's not actually a gift, right? That is income coming from abroad, really. That is what it really is. Assuming, of course, that annuity comes from the investments in assets that are not from Paraguay. But in that case, you shall be actually invoicing in exempta, so invoicing tax-free from your RUC, the money that you're receiving. That will be bankable. And then, of course, you can justify the whole thing about the foundation, you being the beneficiary, and receiving the income from abroad. That is much easier than a friend of you just gifting you money, because that's when it comes to the foundation, I have all the traceability of everything that happened in the foundation. I can apostille it, I can translate it, I can show it to anybody. But if it's a gift from someone, it smells like money laundering from 500 kilometers away. So banks, even though you're acting in absolutely good faith, they won't. You won't likely get away with it. Now, about the foundation, since we don't have that in Paraguay, we do have very specific laws about being the beneficiary of a trust in Paraguay and how you should be treated for tax purposes, but we do not have the same for being the beneficiary of a foundation.
But like the bank aside, just for the tax purposes, say, for example, I would have a bank account abroad, and the person donates the money to me, but not into Paraguay. But so it doesn't.
No, 100%. No, 100%. No, 100% no. 100% no.
Just to be not that it's avoiding Paraguay, but it's like just
everything up and abroad
coming in here, but it's 100% legal.
Yeah, no, it's 100% extraterritorial in that case. The person who's sending his bank account, your bank account, everything is extraterritorial, so that is completely out of territorial fashion. That is the whole thing. The my only doubt is like, would you be able to bank it here? But if that is not a concern, then tax-wise, if it's 100% foreign, it's 100% foreign. Dennis? Okay, super expert, so no question. He's participating in like 45 Q&As. Mate, where are you from?
I'm from Finland.
Finland, nice.
I guess I had a few questions. I heard that, or I saw the previous talk about like private banking having the 50,000.
Yeah.
Then I read some online rumors that there is sort of like a level above where you can get like, especially with Itaú, you can get like a US bank account, like an investment account.
That is the Casa de Bolsa, though it's not a different level of banking. That is if you open a brokerage account with Itaú Casa de Bolsa, not with the bank, which is the brokerage, then yes, you can get US coordinates for investing in US stocks, but it doesn't act much as a proper bank account. It only acts as an investment vehicle for you to hold American stocks.
There's no like
Proper bank account? No.
And I think my other questions were mainly about like PayPal in Paraguay.
PayPal in Paraguay does not work itself because they don't accept residents of Paraguay. But as long as you form any kind of entity abroad in a country that is accepted, so say Estonia is certainly accepted. That is, for instance, a go-to place for this kind of thing. US LLC, it's kind of a gray area because if the beneficiary is in Paraguay, they're not supposed to accept the account, but like it's a, I would say 25-75 split because we have some clients that have been accepted. Most of them, their LLCs have been rejected.
I had an LLC that was accepted. I have an LLC right now that I'm trying to get accepted.
But when you disclose the beneficial ownership information, did you disclose Paraguay?
No.
That is the thing.
It's only happening now.
Okay, that is the problem. So one good thing about PayPal, though, which is probably the best thing they have, is that they generally don't ask you for proof of address anymore after they did it the first time. So it's like if you were in, you were in. If you were out, you were out. But it's not something that is like I still have my PayPal from back in Italy. It's not a bank account, so it doesn't fall under banking laws and banking transparency. But they never asked for proof of address ever again. So that is not a concern, and it's not really something that is kind of problematic. If your LLC got accepted, just keep it there, and it's fine.
Unfortunately, I don't.
Yeah.
That LLC is gone. So.
Otherwise, the best thing to do is to form a company in any jurisdiction that is accepted and is very low on taxes or territorial taxation or zero taxes, Estonia being a very good example for that. And for instance, in Estonia, since it's not like an LLC where it's just like an extension of the owner, but it's a separate juridical entity that exists by itself, they will 100% accept your company.
How about getting money out of the PayPal account to like a personal?
Yeah, that is.
Paraguay account?
Yeah, well, to a Paraguayan account, it's harder because of the complications in international transfers we were discussing before. So if I was to do that, for instance, here is what I would do. In Estonia, there is a thing that is like 0% tax on corporate tax, but 20% tax on dividends. So you don't pay ever yourself dividends, you pay yourself a salary. Salaries paid to non-residents are tax-free. There are two bank accounts, one is AgliCash, one is MANU, that you can connect to your PayPal, and you can cash money from there. And MANU sends wire transfers to Paraguay, even though 3-4 months ago they had a very good exchange rate. And what happens with MANU is that, which is another option, by the way, but I'm not citing it much any longer because of they became quite crazy with the spreads they apply. I will tell you what they do now. But the cool thing is that they have accounts in all the countries where they operate. And when you do a withdrawal in Paraguay, you don't receive the money via SWIFT from a foreign bank account. You receive it from a local bank account. And you completely avoid all those problems we were mentioning before. So that is pretty cool. And another way to do it is through Remitly or these other services that are doing the same exact thing as MANU. Then there is AgliCash, which doesn't have Paraguayan wire transfers as of yet, but one of the AgliCash top managers, curiously, is from Paraguay. And we spoke to him 2 weeks ago, and he said they will implement it either in January or February. So that should become a MANU that has better exchange rates. So as of now, to give you a reference, well, today is pretty good. Today is worth it, probably because they are a little bit behind. With MANU, yeah, today is good because today the exchange rate right now as we speak is 68.32, the mid-market rate. and they're giving you 67.14, which means you're only paying 120 guaranis per dollar in exchange rate fees. But like 2 weeks ago, a month ago, etc., it was 350, 400 guaranis per dollar, and it was completely like, no, it's not gonna accept it, no way. So that is the biggest deal. Or again, with AgliCash, they are going to implement the wire transfers January or February. But in the meantime, what they have, which is pretty cool, is that they have a card with which you have a 1% cashback, and you don't get charged exchange rate fees at all. So it's generally, when I pay with AgliCash, it's like, if now the exchange rate is 68.32, I would get 68.20, something like that, plus the 1% cashback. And the other cool thing is that they are a crypto bank, okay? So you get $10,000 of stable coins withdrawals per month, and you can have that limit raised, not super easily, but if you tell me, I will tell the guy, he will raise your limits. They do that for us, no problem. And so again, if you were to need more kind of money locally, a way to do it, as again we were saying, off-ramping crypto is generally one of the best things, plus some things you can just simply pay with crypto. At that point, it's very convenient to have AgliCash because they have very low rates. Like when we move, I don't know, $10,000 on AgliCash, you would be paying 3 USDTs to move $10,000. And it falls directly into the guy you're paying or the guy who's exchanging you the cash. So it's pretty convenient to create your stockpile of cash. And then if you want, it's really up to you. That cash you can put into the ATM and it recharges your bank account. This is another way people recharge their bank accounts here. They literally go at the ATM and they do 2 operations. They withdraw the money from the ATM and then they put it back into the ATM. They withdraw from the international card and put it back into their local account. But it was way cooler before. Because before, at Ueno, you had a limit of, was it 10 million guaranis per withdrawal? Now they lowered it at 2.5 millions. And since they are charging 25,000 per withdrawal, it's like now every $1,000 you're spending 12 in ATM fees. Before you were spending 3. So, well, actually now you're spending almost $4 per withdrawal, so you'd be spending 16 because the guaranis in the meantime have become stronger. So I would still say Meru is acceptable rates today, but for instance, they are extremely bad at withdrawing stablecoins because they will charge you 1%, which is nuts. It's like $100 on 10K. While AgliCash is much better to off-ramp, and AgliCash supports PayPal. So it can be like PayPal, AgliCash, crypto, or PayPal, AgliCash, you use the card, or PayPal, Meru, and you can wire transfer directly into your bank account when the exchange rate is good enough. Yeah, there's always some steps involved, but when you become very proficient at it, it's like it's really, really fast because once kind of your finger goes, in a minute I have done the 4 steps together because it's just like boom, 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 boom.
Still, sometimes it feels like I'm never getting the time back from learning all of this, but
yeah. And for instance, now there is also OneSafe that is very cool as a bank account for the LLCs that automatically on-ramps everything you receive into crypto. So now it's possible to do LLC straight into the Guarani by off-ramping crypto, or US dollars cash by off-ramping crypto. That is pretty cool for LLCs especially. But they onboard any type of company. So they will onboard an Estonia company, they will onboard a Panama company, they will onboard a Dubai company, even a St. Kitts and Nevis company. No problem. Which is pretty cool because then just check which of these good jurisdictions are supported by PayPal if you don't like Estonia, and that's it. So pretty.
What was the name of this one?
OneSafe.io. Yeah.
In Marshall Islands.
Is that AgliCash that you're saying?
Yes.
UGLY, hey?
Yeah.
Okay.
last week we had the guy brought us like 6-7 debit cards, and now we don't have any more, but we're waiting for a shipment of 300 debit cards from AgliCash. So anyone who comes to the office will be able to just get the card, because you activate your card via QR code, so it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No security.
Yeah.
Are we able to open an application account right now?
Mhm.
Do we have to wait for the cellular?
Technically, you can open it as a resident of almost any country and then move your address. By the way, if any one of you is interested in opening AgliCash, we can exchange our referral code, because it's not just random. But on AgliCash, you can. It's pretty cool. You make 8% in APY just on your balance. You don't have to put it into any separate thing, etc. There is a lot of videos that explain how it's done. It's actually not that bad. It's all based on a partnership they have with the stable coins, which is USDE. So since they provide liquidity, they get in exchange the APY. And this is not investors' money, etc. I met them 3 weeks ago, when I was in Buenos Aires, 3 weeks ago, let's say, 2 weeks ago. And they had they have a team of 120 in Argentina, and I've met the guys there, and then I met the guy. They told me that they had one in Paraguay, and then I met with the guy in Paraguay. But the AgliCash is very strong. They are profitable, even though it's a fintech startup, which is kind of a new thing for the world in the last 20 years. And they are now raising a Series B funding that is putting the valuation around $500 million. So it's a very promising one. And they're not like Revolut back in the day, where like you paid $9 a month and they would give you Prime, Netflix, Tinder, this and that just to take it back. But anyways, to make 8%, you have to answer like 7 quizzes to show that you understand how the whole thing works, and then you make 7%. To get to 8%, you have to enter the referral code of a friend. So,
Sorry, Ali, could you tell us all the way that you can fund AgliCash? So you say PayPal, all the possible ways.
All the possible ways. Let me open it.
Or the most common one.
Well,
The safe ways.
the easiest ones are SEPA, so European Bank Transfer, and ACH or Wire, so American Bank Transfer. Then you have stable coins, PayPal, Mexican wire transfer, because you can get Mexican bank coordinates through it. So when you travel to Playa del Carmen, you can pay it like a local. And then, see if it opens at some point, because the internet is not really cooperating due to the live stream. I will tell you more. Let's get rid of the Wi-Fi and bring the conversation to our mobile network and see if we get something better. Okay, depositar. So you have stable coins, US bank transfer, Mexican bank transfer, European bank transfer, payment link.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a Stripe.
Yeah.
And then you have PayPal, Wise, and Deal.
Oh, wow. Revolut, no.
No, Revolut will.
You can do with SEPA, right?
No, Revolut will be, yes, exactly.
You can do with SEPA. Or even ACH.
Yes, and even Cash App, because so today we don't have many US people.
Even Cash App.
Cash App and Airbnb straight into your.
Airbnb.
Yeah.
And it has multi-currency as well?
No, everything is automatically converted to stables. Yeah, USDE.
That's nice.
And does it have any kind of limit to, if I want to move from European account 100?
Yeah. Let me. They have some limits, but we already have that conversation that we can remove them, or at least raise them. But the most annoying limits were, first, that you had like $400 per day. No, okay, for ATMs,
For depositing,
for depositing, as long as you can provide proof of funds, it's fine. I don't recall which is the threshold. I think it's 20,000 a month. like before you actually have to provide the thing. But there used to be this very cool PDF. I don't know where they put it now. But there used to be this very cool PDF with all the limits, like extremely well explained. And now it's harder to find. Maybe it's this one here. There was a nice table with all the things, with all the limits, and then I will send it to you guys. Oh, here we have it. ACH wire transfers, the transactional limit is $2,000 per transaction. Daily, weekly, monthly limit on ACH and wire transfers, 2,000 per day or 10,000 USD monthly. Incoming ACH or wires, no limits. Daily, monthly stablecoins withdrawals, 10,000 monthly. Daily, monthly stablecoins deposits, no limits. Daily, monthly Bitcoin or Ethereum deposits, no limits. P2P transfers to app users, it's 2,000 per transaction, but without daily or monthly. Weekly or monthly instant funding, $500 weekly, but who cares? Prepaid card transaction limit, $2,000 per day or 10,000 monthly. ATM limit, 500 daily or 5,000 monthly. And then, yeah, everything is about the charges. So, for instance, things that have no charge are stablecoin withdrawals on Polygon. It's kind of cool. Stablecoin withdrawals on Base. Stablecoins withdrawals on Binance Smart Chain, BEP20. It's just 30 cents. On Tron, it's $3. It's the most expensive, and it's kind of inconvenient because it's the only one they use in Paraguay. Debit card deposits, no charge. International incoming wire fee, no charge. Domestic incoming wire fee, no charge. Returned item fee, $10. Overdraft, no charge. Requesting a physical card fee, no charge, but they charge you $54 for the shipment. This is why we asked to have 300 cards here at the... then international transaction fee, 1% foreign transaction fee to use your Ugly Cash's Visa prepaid card, which is basically zero because it's 1%, but you get the 1% cashback, and so it just how you say, kind of compensate. Yeah.
1% back when you are using it to buy.
You get 1% on any purchase you make with the card.
Purchase.
Yeah.
And the 1% that you pay is when you receive the money?
Every Friday. So there are two things. I don't recall if that happens every time immediately. I am sure every Friday for sure. So I'm not sure if every Friday they send you the money of your loyalty program and the friends referral and cashback, or just the first two and cashback they send you immediately. Anyway, it's one of the two, but you don't. And the cashback, the only thing that is kind of annoying is that you receive it into this RSR coin, which is a reserve stable protocol, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I had a very bad idea to like hold on to it, like worst idea I ever had. It's completely worthless now. But if you sell it when you receive it, it's that 1%, you know, and it's not like EtherFi, which is like, yeah, 3% cashback and you receive it again in a shitcoin, but you have only on desktop the feature to sell it in a super long way. Now here it's just like click, sell, done. I suggest you guys sell that thing all the time because it's really a crappy coin. And but I have like, I don't know, 50,000 of those coins. They're worth like $4. So I didn't.
Was Bitcoin. So was Bitcoin.
Exactly. That's what I keep saying to myself. It's like one day, this is gonna buy my private jet. You know, it's like you can laugh at me now, but yeah, that was anyway a good question. I forgot where we were. Right there.
I just arrived. We just arrived, so I think my questions are a little bit earlier stage than anybody I heard so far. So after getting the residency here,
Yes.
well, everything's fine. One of the first questions I have is with regards to health insurance.
Mhm.
So how do I get myself internationally covered with a good health insurance?
For international cover, I would suggest not to go with a Paraguayan company, but to go with an international company like Safety Wings, which is my, Safety Wings is my go-to option. This is the one I usually use, but private banking actually gives me coverage. I don't trust them at all. So I use 50 wings, but technically I'm covered. Then if you want to have it locally, there are many big ones. One that I'm having a good time with the car, for instance, is Cattolica.
Cattolica.
Yeah, I have the car insured with them. The two corporate cars are insured with them, and they're
This
fine.
will be only local.
Only local. Then you have Yasureta, which is, spoiler, like when you go out of the building, you will see that on this tower or this tower, you will see that name written very big because they are here. And if you actually walk like 200 meters to the left, you will find an operative thing, because here it's just administration. But if you walk 200 meters, you will find the proper Yasureta. So Cattolica, Yasureta, and there is kind of a billion of them. There is one I particularly like is if you stay in this area. If you stay in this area, it's hard to get to the two best clinics we have in Asuncion, which are both called La Costa. It's the same brand. But if it's an emergency, it's like 15 minutes by car. The closest very good option you have is the Centro Médico Bautista. Centro Médico Bautista has their own insurance, which they brilliantly decided to name something else. So it's and so it's San something, you know, it's like some saint. But if you just check Centro Médico Bautista Seguro, you actually, let's find it out.
Going back to some of the conversation I heard, just to clarify, all the LLCs that we were talking about earlier, they were all US-based LLCs, right?
Yeah, generally speaking, yeah.
Okay.
It's called El Buen Samaritano.
Oh, okay. You mentioned something very interesting. You said that an LLCs cannot hold a share equity.
It doesn't have a shareholder capital.
As an initial.
Exactly.
Sure. So I'm going through a similar situation as the Dutch gentleman. So even talking with some of Paraguay's, I discovered that you can sell your personal shares to the LLC, and you can sell it for any value, and then whatever that amount corresponds to can go directly to the bank account of the LLC. And this is a legit transaction because you sold your shares.
Yes, you can sell the shares, but then the LLC only owns shares.
The capital connected to the shares.
No. If I have a company of legal right in Spain and I own 100% of it, I can't, like they do in an LLC, I can't dispose of the assets of the company as I want. Because if I sell something, it will be, first I have to be the director of the company to sell something. It doesn't matter if I'm the shareholder or not. But when I sell something, that money that I got from the sale goes to the company.
Sure.
Then the company can be paying out those dividends to the LLC.
So that's, sorry, I missed that part. So it needs to be paid as dividends.
Yeah. Well,
It's foreign, so the LLC will not pay an income tax.
of course. But if it was dividends, then it's fine, because if it was dividends, he could be paying that to himself. The problem is, to have dividends, I have to have a net income, okay? If those assets are not in the form of net income, but in the form of liquidity that's already there in reserve, yeah. Or you can, if you're the owner of the company, you can lower the shareholder capital of the company. You can lower the shareholder capital of the company. It's not going to be economic because you have to go to a notary and a scribania and do a extraordinary shareholder meeting where you deliberate that. Then the notary will take care of updating all the company information everywhere that the shareholder capital has decreased. So looking at the balance sheet of the company, this is where the accounting years have become useful. Looking at the balance sheet of the company, you see in which form the money is right now. If it's, for instance, shareholders' capital, if it's reserve of profits, if it's special reserves, no. You move it to shareholder capital, and then you decrease the shareholder capital, and then with that you get the money back, basically. Yes.
Yeah, so this is the
Yeah.
structure I put in.
It's a 3 to 4 months process. Also because you have to know to call the assembly with generally it's 20, at least in Italy it's 21 days before the assembly. Then you have the assembly. Then for 14 days you cannot touch it because if you have other shareholders, any of them could be impugnare, kind of put a claim against the decision of the shareholder assembly. At that point you can register with the notary. The notary will give you an appointment when they have time, and then they will have to register that. And so it's going to be a 3 to 4 month process, but absolutely doable. Just like you can do an increase of shareholder capital when someone wants to invest in your company, you can do the opposite thing.
Then when it comes to real estate investment, so the idea is to come here for a certain amount of time every year, especially during this period. And we were thinking about investing into either an apartment, like you were saying, a house. It's a bigger investment, so at the moment I actually took it away. But I heard from you that the houses can actually have a much higher appreciation than
Of course.
an apartment.
Of course.
What are we talking about? 100 square meters, 200 square meters with gardens?
Okay, well, our bread and butter is this: one floor, 82 or 96 square meters, because they are two copy-paste type of houses we keep producing, which means you don't pay the architect every time, nor the engineer every time. And it means that generally you are and the land is 180 square meters. Okay, that is the bread and butter. Ideally, and this is where we can put the Scerogapora thing into play, ideally you want to sell at a price that is below 607 million guaranis, which is the top of range. So it's going to be like $87,000, to give you an idea. 87. Why is that? Because that is the
buy price.
Yeah, exactly. What the final client pays. That is the upper bound of the Scerogapora credit. If you're like 10% above that, doesn't make any sense. At that point, you just jump to the luxury market at $500,000 because everyone is going to be looking at Scerogapora. Scerogapora means that instead of paying the normal market rate, you have a program above Scerogapora, which is like you're not kind of poor, but you're not rich either kind of program, which is the AFD, and it's 10.4% interest rate. Scerogapora is 6.5. Like house that has just been sold. Yeah, it's still a lot, but consider that the central interest rate in Paraguay is 9.5%. So the government is actually putting money into repaying the interest of those houses because it's below what the bank can borrow from the central bank. Now, what happens is, if you have, like in Paraguay, it happens now with Scerogapora. The thing is, in Paraguay, almost nobody has savings, okay? So they finance 100% of the value of the property. A house that is 600 million guaranis with the old program used to go for 5.4 million guaranis installments per month. A house that is with the new Scerogapora goes for 3.9 million. Same house, same price, different interest rate. Because when you finance 100% of the property, interest has a huge weight on the final installments. Consider that the installments cannot be higher than 40% of the household income. Okay, so when you consider that, especially when you look at the percentiles of the household income in Paraguay, you have a very big concentration of people making, as a household, between 8 and 12 million guaranis. That is like 40% of people in Asunción, 40% of the households in Asunción, okay? What does it mean? It means that if you are at 5.4, you're like pushing the very upper limit of that. But if you're at 3.9 in monthly installments, you're right in the middle, like just fishing into the barrel. So that is very cool. This program has been launched 1 year ago with a very low limit, like $45,000, and it didn't work at all because it's still subject to banking approval. And yeah, the idea is like, we can give a house to everybody. No, because everyone that is in the lower range of Scerogapora is in debt as fuck. So statistics have it that 60% of the Paraguayans spend 70% or more of their paycheck in the first week. And where does it go? Debt repayments. So I have some friends. At 11, I was here with my man Claudio Viersi, from the Viersi family, with $3 billion in net worth as a family. And we were recording a podcast, and he builds both houses and very high towers. So he goes both our target and very luxury target. And we were talking, making numbers and doing everything related to it. And we were discussing also this Shero Capora thing. So there are projects where the monthly repayments are like $120 a month, $150 a month, which you think, so amazing. Those guys put 100 folders per week to the bank, and they get one approved because the others are all in debt. So it's not a good target. So you don't want to be aiming very low, and this is why the first Shero Capora was crap. Then one month ago came out the 2.0, which raised the limit to 607 million guaranis. And between Diego and I, 8 houses have already been sold with the 2.0 because it's just so easy. And now this is the moment to catch this wave. And anything that is like $100,000, people are going to be like, if I have to pay $100,000, that is just a slightly better house than one that I can buy for $87,000, but I will be paying so much more in interests. So it killed the range of the market.
I have a question. So you see it like I purchase now and I sell it tomorrow, right?
Mhm.
In a very short period of time, you can make some gain. It's easy. You can get the cash. You were talking about how
Yeah.
to make cash
Yeah.
inside Paraguay, so that's fantastic. But if I look at it with a very future
Yeah.
mindset, so
Yeah.
I make a purchase today,
Yeah.
and I have no intention of selling it.
Yeah.
I will keep it for the next 20 years.
Mhm.
Maybe then
Yeah.
I will decide to sell it.
Yeah.
So we're still talking housing is a good investment.
Of course.
We're still talking
At that point, it's much better to have a house because you own the land.
Okay.
Because the land is the real appreciating asset. At the end of the day, a house or an apartment is an appreciating asset, the land, and on top of which there is a depreciating asset, which is the house, because it's made of materials that degrade over time, fall out of fashion, need repairs, need maintenance. No. So the reason why you see houses here that are crap going for $500,000 is because the guy wants to demolish it and build a tower on it. So actually it sometimes goes for less than if there wasn't a house on top of it, because for the developer it's a cost to break it down, and that is a thing. Now if you are playing into the capital gain game over the long run, I wouldn't look neither at apartments nor at houses, and I would definitely look at farmland.
Farmland. I look into some Idealista or Remax.
No.
I couldn't find any, honestly.
No, because you're like looking for a car into a candy shop. They're not platforms used to it. Now, when it comes to land, I will give you some benchmarks so you can understand also why I'm saying it. I was recording a podcast with a guy that owns 685 hectares up for sale, if anyone is interested, for $7.5 million in Pedro Juan Caballero, which is right on the border with Brazil. And they are $12,000 per hectare, give or take. That is the price in that area, which is the most expensive in Paraguay. Okay, so the best land in Paraguay for soy farming is $12,000 per hectare. I was in Goiânia, and I asked, roughly, if I want to get good agricultural land here, what will I pay by the hectare? And this was the day before the event. The guy says $45,000. I changed my presentation. I started talking about farmland. And no joke, especially my Brazilian friends can confirm, after the presentation I will receive tomorrow, these guys here at the office, who is plus 55. I never save anybody's number, I'm so bad. Estou como produtor rural pecuarista que quer investir US 10 milhões no Paraguai. Nesta primeira visita, queremos conhecer as principais regiões e algumas fazendas, which is, hey, Alessandro, good night. I am with a rural producer who wants to invest $10 million in Paraguay. In this first visit, we want to look for some regions and some farms. So the Brazilian I went to Guyana, I couldn't believe what I was seeing, and that money is all from the agro. There are private airports only for executive flights, private flights. 4 Porsche dealerships I've seen with my own eyes. Maybe there's more. Going around Cayennes, Macans, Dodge Ram, like the agro money is so much money. So much money. And the Brazilians, first, they can't stand Lula anymore. Lula is the number 10 of the Paraguayan selection, you know, is our best salesperson is Lula. Yeah. We have to pay him so many commissions, you know. It's like I am pretty sure, I kind of hope egoistically that he wins next year, but the numbers have it that he's winning big, also because Bolsonaro now candidated his son, who is little credibility, and Tarcísio is only known probably in the Centro-West. So don't think there's much of a chance for anyone else to win, also because democracy is broken when it's rigged anyways, right? So I'm pretty confident that at that point it's going to be big business for Paraguay. I'm not talking people, I'm talking companies. So in Guyana, we were only speaking to companies that have 500 to the biggest we've seen, 2,500 employees to relocate to Paraguay for the maquila. We were doing like completely different sizing in the conversation we were having. And the first thing that I've seen interest for was farmland, because man, soy sells for international prices. So whether you paid $100,000 for an hectare or $1,000 for an hectare, it only means, you know, the only thing that matters is how much you produce. And of course, the geo arbitrage is insane. 80% of soy exported from Paraguay is farmed by Brazilians. But they're just pulling in more and more and more. And for instance, in Goiás, it's very hard to find farmland. At that price, you still struggle to find sellers. And Paraguay, in the Chaco, they sell for $1,000 per hectare. It's also not comparable, but the areas that are comparable go from 8 to 12,000. So that's like 4 times the yield, with the addition that they will pay less on Social Security for every employee. Because in Brazil, they pay 24, here they pay 16.5. With the difference that, okay, in Brazil, there are good incentives for agriculture. So tax-wise, actually, they're doing quite okay. But there is a thing to say. The electricity, for instance, if you want to irrigate your fields, is much cheaper in Paraguay. In Brazil, it's very hard. Like, I was expecting them to be more interested about some things and less interested about one thing. But for the farmers, it's impossible to find mão de obra, workforce.
Yeah.
Because when people live of subsidies,
Yes.
they have no incentive to work.
Yeah.
May I ask you, is there a market, is it profitable to rent farmland?
Mm-hmm.
Because you were talking about development.
Exactly. This is exactly the point I was going to get. If you rent out farmland, you can make very good money, but the real money you will collect with the capital gain.
Sure.
So, yes, but not over a long time. So, for instance, regions like the ones in Caguasu, Coronel Oviedo, Concepcion. Well, Claudio made a very extreme example before, but this is from 1988. An hectare was for sale at $55, and now it's $3,000. But okay, it's a very long period of time. But land appreciates at 8-9% a year, compounding. So
Better than S&P 500, better than everything.
and you're also collecting rent on top of it,
Yeah.
and there is no depreciating asset on top of it.
But what about taxation? Because you have to pay taxes.
Yeah, you have to pay.
For example, 10%.
10%. Yeah.
No, but I mean, property taxes for land is not what I mean. I mean, like, whether you use it or not, you have to pay taxes because.
Yeah. In Paraguay, the property tax you will pay on a property, which is namely, so it depends on the type of agriculture you're running onto it. If you're running cattle or agriculture or eucalyptus, and for instance, for reforestation, now if you do eucalyptus, you kind of have no property tax. It's going to be either 1 to 2.5% of the value of the property, but with a catch. The cadastral value of the property, which is going to be like At best, 20% of its real value.
Okay, but
At
it's not
best.
nothing. It's not nothing anyway.
It's not nothing, but let's say that the cadastral value is 25%
Oh,
of the, yeah, and you're paying 1.5. At the end of the day, what you're really paying is like 0.3, 0.4. If you're renting out at 6-7% and collecting another 8-9% in appreciation, you're making 14%. But compared to apartments, like nothing can happen. Nothing
don't
can
have
happen.
so much work to do.
You don't have nothing. You don't have literally anything to do. Anything to do.
I have one last question. Sorry, everybody.
Sorry?
Just arrived.
Okay. Okay.
So one last. Everybody's kind of concerned about the banking, right? But are there any limitations to use foreign bank cards?
No.
There's only a matter of limits of how much you can withdraw.
Yeah.
What I'm understanding.
Yeah, no, when it comes to cards, you can pay everything you can pay with card, with foreign cards, no problem. But yeah, the more you stay, the more you will face the fact of actually sending transfers. And you can't buy a car with a credit card. You can't buy a house with a credit card. You can't buy land with a credit card. So most of the operations you will do on an investment base, which are the ones that imply the highest amount, so the hardest to bank, are not done with cards.
Okay, so then it comes to really the last question is that, so let's say that the dividends went to the LLC.
Yes.
So all is good. I'm resident here. I have a bank account and everything, and at a certain point in time, my LLC decides to pay dividends to me.
Yeah.
So I'm still the director and the owner of the
The
company.
LLC doesn't pay dividends per se, but sure.
Well,
It pays you at any time. Yeah.
it pays me at any time. So in that case, I have no taxation because it's coming from outside. Do I have enough documents to prove that
Banks here don't touch LLC's money. Banks here don't touch LLC's money.
they don't touch LLC's money?
No. This is a good moment to actually use the LLC's money to buy farmland or build a house. Another reason for housing is that the cycle is fast. So when it comes to capital de giro, no? It's like circling the money fast. A house is up in 3 months and a half. In 1 month, you sell. 4 months and a half, you have cashed in 12% capital gain. With that, you pay the taxes, which is 2.4% of the value of the house. You're still keeping 9%, let's say, just if you want to sell very fast, because we generally go for 16, 17% in capital gain, but you'd be selling in like 2 months. Now, if you want to sell very fast and want to be very competitive and you cash in 8-9%, which is still like paying for the time you've been into the investment, you're out very fast. And so you can say, I want 1 unit, 5 units, 10 units, adjusting to the amount of money you want to cash in. One gets built with the utmost speed. Even now what we will do, for instance, in our project in Lucca, San Martino, which is sold out, but we're already negotiating another plot of land. Hopefully the negotiation comes to some things next week. That is going to host 22 units, so we're going to have more spare space to build. When one is ready, you can bring all the visits there and start selling all the other ones, you know? So the important thing is to have one up in like 2 months and a half, if possible, so that one sells all the other ones. And then if the other ones are ready in 3 months and a half or 4 months, always from day zero and not from the first one, you can already be selling. So that is actually the most interesting fact about the 1-floor houses. They go up very quick. They are in the right sweet spot of that Shero Gapora thing. So overall, it makes a lot of sense. When it comes to apartments, it's way harder to flip unless you have a lot of patience by buying in the friends and family, which is also about connections. So to be before they announce that they are going to build. Before they announce they're going to build, you're in, which is fine. If you need that, I'll connect you with the developers. It's not a problem at all. And at that point, you can buy with a 35% discount compared to final price. But the thing doesn't go up in 4 months. Things go up in 24, 36 months. So neither on the like making profit side nor on the banking the money fast side, it is that convenient. But it is kind of easy to flip. So, like when it's done, okay, and you want to flip, at that point, it's kind of easy to do the flip.
Are there any governmental securities for new build? For example, you invest in, and then on the second floor, this is where it would go bankrupt.
No. There is one company, which is Palmanova, that is the only one that will give you insurance if you pay the full thing up front. And the insurance covers you almost for everything. There is only force majeure as a thing that is not covered. But it's also the only thing that kind of turned out to be a problem in some two big famous projects here. But if the builder doesn't give you the house or the apartment, I'm talking about towers, right? Which is the most common thing to invest in POSO. When it's about the towers, here is the thing. You take all the risk on you, and if the house doesn't get built and the apartment doesn't get built, it's your problem because it's part of, in the discount we gave you, you were paying for that risk. You know? Why did we give you 30% off? Because you were paying for that risk. Although, of course, developers can do that once and never again.
Yeah.
So
That's the formula company. No, I'm not judging. I'm
no,
just
but like
asking if there are any
the brands, the brands that are big, yeah, they can open another company, but they have no history. And it's hard to sell in POSO for a company with no history. But we have developers here, 6, 7, let's say, Visa, Petra, More. Well, Petra had one force majeure, but More never had. Proinvest never had. The guy is there from the apartment where Nick lives, which is very beautiful. Altamira Group never had any problem. VRC, of course, never had any problem, also because they can straight out buy the country if they want. Zuba never had any problem. So, of course, because it's also the Zocoligio family, which competes with the VRC. Those have completed 10. Civis never had any problem. So if they have completed 10, 15, 20, 25 projects, it's in their best interest to just keep the ball rolling. It's like opening an e-commerce. You can make money by becoming a very big e-commerce or just scamming everybody, but you can scam everybody for a week. So that is the thing.
My last question.
Sure, go ahead.
If I'm not a resident in Paraguay as of now, I mean, I'm still thinking about it, but I want to invest it. Can I invest in property? I'm paying cash for it.
You can, but you will pay higher taxes than a non-Paraguayan resident.
Okay.
Almost double the amount. Yeah.
Then a Paraguayan resident.
Yeah. For instance, capital gain tax, which can be either 8% of the capital gain or 2.4% of the value of the house, is 15% when you're a non-resident on the effective capital gain. When it's the dividends of a company paid to a resident, you pay 8% dividend tax. If it's a non-resident, you pay 15%. So it's, let's say that the price of the residency is offset by the higher taxes you are paying, plus you get a residency kind of for free at that point. So yeah, no, it's true. It's true. Okay.
Can I ask a question about
Sure.
something different? So crypto and financial assets, so that this is something new, right? That, nobody seemed to ask. In which cases we are, as Paraguayan resident, we are due taxes, so we have to pay taxes if we trade crypto or financial assets with an LLC. In which cases we pay, and in which cases we don't
No,
pay. So
in any case, you don't pay. If you trade crypto through an LLC, in no case you'll pay. Now we will see what is going to go on with the new regulation they introduced about crypto. There are some very positive things, some very negative things, but it's all theory. Let's see if, because in Paraguay, between theory and practice, there is a huge difference. Now, 7th of November, new regulation about the stock market in Paraguay comes into play. And 7th of November, they approved it and said that they made a list of everything that is considered valores, securities. And in this list, there are cryptos and tokens. Okay, so it's technically a security. Keep reading the law. You're right to a point where it says that only casas de bolsas are allowed to trade securities. Does it mean that only casas de bolsas will be able to trade crypto? If you read the law and you apply logic, yes. Did the crypto exchange give a shit and shut down because they're not regulated as Casa de Bolsa? No. Did anyone else? No. So, whatever. And technically, if you're Bybit now, you should say, no. You're a resident of Paraguay. I'm not regulated as a Casa de Bolsa in Paraguay, so I have to close down or form a Casa de Bolsa in Paraguay. Is it happening? No. Did the government shut down those websites? No. So, it looks inconsequential for now. I don't know if they're having a buffering period in which, like, okay, we approved the law, now we will start to enforce it over time, or like many things in Paraguay, it's like, yeah, we did it so that when the UN, the United Nations studies our law, it looks like we're pretty cool. Because
these securities or about these assets, they're not located in Paraguay. They are, for example, in the US, anywhere else, but not in Paraguay. So they are because of the territorial taxation system. So
no, absolutely, it's not taxable. No, but in this new law, they didn't even update taxation. This new law doesn't even touch taxation. Doesn't even touch it. What I'm saying is that if everything goes according to the law, you will technically only have local operators offering crypto to residents of Paraguay. It's very unlikely. But on the bright side of this law, which we'll see if actually this gets applied, it can be very interesting. Tokenization becomes completely regulated.
Right.
So you post a white paper, it gets approved by the central bank, and So now we could be tokenizing a real estate project with the same audits, same checks, same transparency as issuing stocks, which is a kind of one of a kind. There is a similar thing in Germany, but it never actually seemed to fly. Also because I think people are just too scared of European regulation to touch crypto. But here, technically, now you can tokenize a company fully transparently with the advantages of a token and of an IPO combined. We will see. It's a very new law, as we said. It doesn't even have, it's a month old, the resolution. So we'll see if that actually happens. Many Web3 companies may be moving down here. Let's keep going.
Nobody's interested in financial assets.
So which way are we going?
The sir right behind Andrea, right beside Andrea. Sorry. Okay. Where are you from? Can I ask?
I'm from Finland.
Oh, okay. So
Yes.
looks to be a trend.
In a video, you said once that you wouldn't invest in high towers,
Mhm.
High towers apartments. Can you develop that?
Oh, yeah, sure, 100%. Very, very easy.
Why is it?
3 reasons. First reason, they're not built to last, with some exceptions. But most of these towers I've seen coming up with my own eyes. And I don't understand real estate so well to say how good a column is or how thick it should be. But some of our clients, yes, they are. They've been building for 30 years. And they didn't have kind words. So that is the first thing that concerns me. I have personally lived in towers that are 6 or 7 years old and they're falling to pieces. And the third thing is the economics right behind it, which is actually my big deal. And there we go. If you buy a tower here in this area, at least it makes economic sense. But most towers are built in areas where they just can't justify why they built it. You know why they built it? Because if you buy a big plot of land and you want to fraction it in a lot of plots of land, it takes 1 year to do that. Now, we will meet with the Minister of the Vivienda. I don't know when. I have to check the chat with Vane. But I will talk to him so that we can properly set a presentation with the government so that all foreigners in Asuncion can understand the housing things in Paraguay. But let's go to the economics. Building vertical, I asked also this morning to Claudio to see if the numbers were matching, costs $1,200 per square meter if we want to build something taller than 5 floors. Okay, so that is what the construction company is going to charge me to build proper foundations, proper walls, it's a different structure to go up. Okay, the houses we're building 1 floor, they cost $440 with the same level of finishings to be built. Okay, so let's do some math, shall we? Math has it that if the land costs $1,000 per square meter, it makes a lot of sense to go vertical, right? Because it's cheaper to keep building up and not buy more land than it is to buy more land and keep building 1 floor or 2 floors. 2 floors will be around $750 per square meter. Then you have some in-betweens between 2 and 5 floors where you can be 820, 900, 950. That is mostly foundation and concrete work, okay? So in Recoleta, you see a lot of duplexes and triplexes. makes a lot of sense. In Recoleta, the land is around $380, $400 per square meter. So it justifies building 2 floors, 3 floors, not a tower, not a single floor. But if you do a project in Zona Sit, Fernando de la Mora, or if I go more specific and someone is watching this, they're going to be taking it as a personal attack. But I'm just saying it's math, okay? It's not against anybody. If it's just cheaper to buy more land and build 1 floor or 2 floors or 3 floors, depending on, instead of going vertical, why am I going vertical? Because first, I am just straight out losing money on the economics of how much every square meter is gonna cost me. And the same goes for the guy who's buying it. And second, even if the two things were equal, so let's say that land plus construction is the same in a certain area, for the same reasons we were discussing before, you would always pick more land for the same price instead of more construction, okay? Now, if you consider that not only the square meter is cheaper to build, but that people also get more land, not built, but like garden and space in front of the house for the car. Economically, it doesn't make any sense to go vertical in most areas of Asuncion. Around here, well, here, this is Iquasati, you can't go vertical. Pretty much you cannot. There are only 4 streets of Asuncion where you can go as high as you want. And those are effectively the ones that have all the tall buildings. And only 2 of those have prices per square meter that justify that. Also because they are super long streets. I don't know, like Mariscal Lopez is huge. Santa Teresa, which is this one, is... Santa Teresa, I think, is like 10 kilometers. It's huge. Then you have Avenida Boggiani, which is also huge. And then Molas Lopez, which is the one where you have the Forum, Petra Tower, and what is called the other ones? Something Garden Park. And now they've announced the CVC there and blah, 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 all of Molas Lopez. Then what happens? Most simply, that the government allows another street to be built, and boom, all of a sudden, that the value of the land of the new street goes up and the others go down because, of course, there's more supply now. So that is the 3 main reasons. They are not built to last. They are very speculative. Also, they make no secret that all their buyers are investors, which is kind of sketchy to me. Or like specifically some developers have between 60 and 90% of investors that are foreigners who never came to Paraguay. And some of these projects, for instance, are not even presented in Paraguay. And they make no secret of it because you can see it on their page that when they present a project, they present it in Miami, they present it in Dubai, they present it in Milan or Madrid. Because there is a capital the capital is fleeing Europe and is fleeing Canada, and to some extent the US, because the dollar has kind of lost our trust, didn't it? And so people are trying to buy assets in safe havens, in countries that are not going to be touched by war, likely, or any other natural disaster or human-created disaster. And there is a lot of speculation into that. Now, I'm also thinking, eventually, all these investors, okay, they can rent out on Airbnb, but we don't have any Ipanema or Colosseum in Asunción, so there's a finite amount of people that are staying for a short term. And if you rent long term, you get 7 to 9% in a tower. In a country where government bonds yield 9.5, does it really make sense? And 6 to 7% is like nothing, it's just like you can do anything that is way more liquid on the stock market to get more than that, not to mention Web3, right? So the economics isn't there either. Capital gain, we were saying, around 10% a year if you do emposo, which means you buy when there's nothing, you take the risk, but that's what we're saying. The risk is not really the big deal, unless you get really, really unlucky, but really unlucky, nothing is going to happen. but you just, that is also a reason why your risk isn't rewarded that much. That is the 9 to 10% a year, and then to flip once it's built, which means you can be, the money stays there for 3 years. Now, the final reason why I wouldn't invest in that is because, like an investment, there is a cost opportunity. So if you have infinite money, you can invest in everything. But the cost opportunity is like, what else can I do with that money in Paraguay? And there are like a million answers to that. If you stay in the real estate market, I would say that if I was to play in the long game, I would be investing in farmland, and it's also going to give me less headaches, other than a bigger yield. And if I was to flip, then I'd be flipping houses because it's faster. And so I can get, 2 cycles of a house per year, let's say 4 months, 3.5, 4 months to build, 1.5 months to sell, 2 times per year, with a buffer time in the meantime to find the next deal, instead of waiting 30 months to flip 1 apartment. Yes.
Sorry, could you please talk a little bit about this SWASE program in connection with the houses of these housing projects?
Yes, SWASE program
Everybody.
gives you permanent residency immediately if you hire 5 people and invest more than $70,000. In the past, the hiring 5 people part wasn't really checked. Now it is. And so one thing we have developed in our real estate investments is the possibility to basically, we form you a company. In this company, 5 of the people that are going to work on the construction are going to be hired by your company. And that means that you satisfy the criteria in investment. Even though the investment is generally a little lower than the 70,000, what we do is to consider also the company incorporation and the general overall expenses to run the company inside that. And with that, you arrive at a point where you're at 70K. And there is still space to sell at 82, 83, and be in the Shirogapura range. So with that, you have your SWASE requirements already met. We have created this, like, not more than a month and a half ago, but 2 SWASE programs have already been done with that, two guys that invested in San Martino. And so that is a good thing. Then we have an agreement with Palmanova also, for those interested in the Palmanova Center, where they will take care of putting 5 people to your company's name and everything, and they will also discount the cost of residency from your payment, because we have this partnership. So that is the thing. Even though the Palmanova takes us back to the very vertical projects, the only thing I can say that is different about that project compared to the other ones is that it's a landmark project. It's like, what is the coolest tower that kind of has an appeal just because it's the coolest one?
Yeah.
That.
And 5 people, I suppose, must be residents of Paraguay.
Yeah.
So is the company, is it you or whatever, is it arranging everything?
Yeah.
People don't have to get involved in this, right?
Unless they want.
Why?
Well, we have clients that are really experienced in the real estate business, that they were doing that before already, and they kind of have their thing going on, their opinions,
So
their
you
ideas.
say there are 2 people that already obtained that, so it's like, it's not good to be a guinea pig in this. You already, that this is working, right?
Mhm.
You say it's launched like a month now. So is it possible to turn the temporary resident into that?
It is possible. It would be ideal to go straight for that instead of doing temporary residency first, because to do when you do the permanent residency, you have to redo the process all over again. So it means new documents, new everything. It's literally redoing it. Yeah.
So you rather do it first and.
Yeah. And we were there.
Okay, so my question may be a little bit redundant, but I want to hear it from you. So if I get my residency as an individual here, which is what I'm going through, how long do I have to spend in this country every year?
During your temporary residency, it's only necessary to be not making an unjustified absence of over 12 months. Okay, so the law states during your temporary residency, you cannot make an unjustified absence of 12 consecutive months, which doesn't set any limit on how much you have to stay. You can be in for 1 second, but just
Within the month, within the year?
Within the year. And so far, it's not being applied. Okay, it's not enforced, but it's in the law. They can enforce it at any time. If they want to be strict, they can. And
Temporary is the first time.
2 years. Yes. During your permanent residency, it's just the same thing, but 36 months.
Okay.
So
So
every 3
Year
years.
2 or 2 for 36 months?
Yeah, exactly.
Have to come?
Yeah.
Once every 36 months?
Yes. Yeah. It's not exactly once every 36 months. I want to remove the ambiguity, right? Because if you come after 16 months, then you didn't, it's like the timer resets at that time, okay? So let's say you get your residency on December 31st, 2025. You shall come back before December 21st, 2026. But if you come back on July 4th, 2026, the clock doesn't reset at December 31st, 2027. It resets at July 4th, 2027. Exactly. So that is why I want to point out always to that.
There's no permanency requirement.
Correct.
Okay, but say, for example, I have my residency here, and then I still have to spend a lot of time in another country.
Yeah.
So I need to pay taxes in that country for the income that I make in that country.
Yeah.
If I make income here, would what I pay in that country be offset? See what I mean? If I make money here, then would the taxes that I pay in the other country be offset?
No, unless there is a double taxation agreement, which we only have with 4 countries, namely Spain, Dubai, Oman, and another 3 like useless countries. So mostly not. Mostly not.
So yeah, I would pay for the income in Peru, and then I would come here, and I would.
Exactly.
And I wouldn't be offset that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And corporation tax is 10%, right?
Yeah.
As is income tax.
As a general rule, yes. Then you have 3 exceptions, which is the maquila for products, maquila for services, and now, brand new, high-tech ensembling.
Right.
So, which is not really high-tech. They mean like air conditionings and stuff like that.
What would be a maquila for services?
Maquila for services is something we are talking a lot in Brazil, for instance, because I visited a factory, for instance. They have 80 people in their accounting team. And I'm like, if you relocate the accounting to Brazil, now what do you get in Brazil? Okay, higher social security, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, you take the cost of these salaries and you deduct it from your revenue, okay? And so it forms part of reducing your net income, right? So you're reducing your tax bill at the end of the year. But if you were to pay an external provider, how much would they charge you? Well, way more, because the other company that's charging you has to make some profit, right? So if you form a subsidiary in Paraguay, and this subsidiary is doing accounting for your company, they may be charging you, let's say that you have 80 people in your accounting team, they cost you $50,000 a month. If you were to externalize that to a third party, what would they be charging you? Instead of 50,000, they may be charging you 150,000, you know, because they have their profit margin. So if you relocate your accounting team to Paraguay and you charge yourself 150,000, like all of a sudden you have here a 1% tax on the profit that the Paraguayan company is making. But in Brazil, you would have paid 25% tax on that income. So getting a bigger invoice to deduct from your net income in Brazil means that you're 24% better off on that money, right? Maquila for services is intended as anything that is exported as a service, which can be call centers, software engineering, customer service, accounting, any service that you can be providing from Paraguay to a company that is abroad.
Okay.
But you have a limit, which I don't really recall because the decree has come a month ago and they were fighting so hard to find this rule. A certain percentage of the employees have to be locals.
Okay.
Just a confirmation to her question. So if I leave now and I come back February, I have 12 months from February.
Yeah.
So I'm to come back.
Yeah. Well, now you don't have your residency yet, do you? Now, the first time the clock starts is when your residency card is issued.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. No. The residency card, which is the yellow one,
Okay.
not the cedula, which is the colorful one, the blue and red one. Okay.
So
from that day, 12 months.
Yes.
The one that we got today.
It's the one you applied for today. Yeah. Yeah.
When you say the yellow one, it's the residencia precaria.
Admission, yeah, the admisión temporaria.
So you get it, and then you leave the country.
No, sorry, the residencia precaria, that is valid for 90 days? No.
No.
Oh,
When you will get the proper yellow card, plastic card that says admisión temporaria.
Okay, that is la residencia, that's the residencia. That's the residencia, and it counts from that moment, the year.
Yes,
You have to be here.
yes.
Okay, and then in maquila de servicios,
Mhm.
means that employee, you have to have there's some rules that there's local
Yes.
employees, et cetera, but it's services rendered here for a company abroad.
Correct.
And it can be, it's gonna be obviously a company that's connected with it, it's a subsidiary or a branch.
Yes, it can be a subsidiary, but you can also form a company here and be saying,
Services.
yes, exactly. And you can be offering development services to banks, you know. Generally, of course, if I go and speak to the Brazilian entrepreneur, I will say, you form a subsidiary. But nothing prohibits you form a company here that provides call center services for any company in the world who wants to hire you. Fine, you pay 1% taxes in that case.
And then the certificate, tax certificate,
Mhm.
at one level, that requires some other requirements.
The RUC, el Registro Único del Contribuyente. Yeah, as soon as you have the cédula, we can open that. Yeah.
So the RUC is, but then there's the tax certificate, that's not the RUC.
No. So when it says tax certificate, is a little ambiguous as a term. There are different tax certificates in Paraguay. The strongest and most wanted kind of king of the hill is the tax residency certificate. Okay, that one, yes, requires the RUC, like every other tax certificate. But yes, indeed, it comes with the RUC. Yeah.
But it comes with, because for example, I have a business in Peru.
Mhm.
Okay, I have a RUC. Okay.
Yeah.
And, but I don't have a tax certificate from Peru.
Okay.
So if the authorities in any other part of the world where I spend time say, you are a resident here, aren't you? And I say, no, because I have a RUC from Peru. They say, well, I want to see your residency tax certificate. The RUC means that I conduct businesses.
Sure.
As a sole trader,
Mhm.
but it doesn't have anything to do necessarily whether I'm a
Correct.
resident or not.
No. Here you will have the RUC and your tax residency certificate.
But you
Okay,
can
and
get
for
the same
that,
in Peru.
and for that,
You can
excuse
get
me,
that, right? You can get the same certificate in Peru. Like I can get it in Italy, I can get it wherever I want.
no, but in Peru you have to live for 182 days.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
In order to get this certificate.
Yeah, of course you can get it anywhere, but you have to comply with
Right,
residency
of
and pay tax on your one.
Of course.
Yeah, so if you, but what I'm saying is that I don't spend 182
Right.
days.
Yeah,
and
so you won't be
therefore-
able to get it. Of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I do have a RUC,
Yeah.
which is the ambiguity.
Yeah.
But in order to get that, we're gonna get the RUC as part of the process.
Yes.
But we're not gonna get the certificate of.
That comes with our accounting service, because once you have the RUC, you must file monthly. And you have to comply with that rule to get the basics tax certificates, which are the tax compliance certificate, the Constancia de RUC. With those certificates, we can apply for the tax residency certificate.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
I appreciate the question.
Yeah, so I got another question about private banking. So with a US LLC,
Mhm.
how do you take money out of it? And what private bank would you use? Would it be ugly cash as well?
So personal banking.
Yeah.
Okay. For those unfamiliar, personal banking means I have a bank account for myself. Private banking means I have a very cool bank account in which they assign me a private person that is there for me to bother when I have questions and stuff. They give me priority pass. They give me a separate lounge inside the banking facilities, etc. So for personal banks, I would recommend to have a setup made of three. I would always recommend to have a very safe bank account. And this can be a non-resident bank account in your country of origin. This can be a XAPO account, which is also like extremely safe, and they accept residents of everywhere. Or an HSBC Uruguay account. HSBC Uruguay does onboard.
I just got the information today. They called me because and in June, it's going to be sold to a Brazilian bank, which I forgot the name.
Is it a new bank? It would be great. If it's a new bank, it's going to just get better. Life is going to be amazing.
They told me I have the.
No, the Brazilians are smiling because new bank is
Please
cool.
continue, but it just told me today when I hear Brazil, I say, okay, bye-bye.
Yeah, now I'm gonna wrap it up. I just want to
Yeah,
finish the round, and then we're gonna wrap it up.
Let me see. I got the reply.
Okay, so you can, in the meantime, the checks, you can have a very safe bank account in these 3 ways, or another 4th way, but I don't super like it. But if you want, you can to open an ETIN in the US, which is a tax identification number for non-resident aliens, which means like
BTG.
BTG. It's the one that is about investments, right? The BTG. BTG is good because they already have, for instance, MANU has an account there because it's the best for non-residents, pretty much in Brazil. If you're a non-resident, they are kind of useful, but they are an investment bank, which is
What about the danger of the jurisdiction of Brazil? I mean, I know that it's
No,
not.
they will be regulated in Uruguay.
But the fact that sorry,
BTG
it is not offense.
No, it doesn't. No. When it comes to banks, it doesn't. Even Itaú is a Brazilian bank,
Oh, okay.
but they have nothing to do with Itaú Brazil. They don't even check. Or Unicredit from Italy.
Right.
If you go to Unicredit Russia and you say, "Oh, I'm a very cool client of Unicredit Italy," they're like, "Yeah, sure, we don't give a fuck."
All right.
So that is the first thing. So, well, the following thing about the ETIN, you can go and open a bank account in the US at Chase, generally speaking. Chase is the easiest to open with an ETIN, even without being a resident there. But those are the best ways to have the first bank account, which is the very safe bank account. Then you want to have a travel bank account, which is a bank.
Sorry, Chase where? In US?
Yeah, generally people go to Miami because the Latinos like to go to
But
Miami.
even if you are not.
You need an ITIN and then LLC. With an ITIN and an LLC, they will open it. Yes.
From the US.
Yeah. It's pretty straightforward at the point.
Yeah.
Then you want to have a travel bank account. So a bank account that allows you to basically, if you are traveling much, or just even if you're in Paraguay, something that like AgliCash, you can pay with a very good exchange rate. And then generally speaking, you want to have a brokerage account where you can, of course, have your assets like investments, etc. And for that, the best, even if you're not a resident of Paraguay, but even more so if you are, is interactive brokers.
But which one, LLC or personal interactive broker?
You can do as you want, but generally speaking, if they are my assets, I'd like to have them to my name or to my structure, such as a foundation in Panama. But why should I keep it in an LLC, since the LLC jurisdiction can be changed tomorrow, and they can be like, you know what, especially because the US now, like Trump or not, one thing that is certain is that they are pretty much changing things like that, you know? So like I've spoken with entrepreneurs that have companies with 2,000 people in Brazil, and they were exporting 40% of their production to the US, and overnight, well, we're not competitive anymore because we just got charged 50% tariffs. So I really don't think that the US is playing the game they were playing before, which was to be extremely stable, extremely predictable, and being like the financial center of the world, because you could be 100% sure that things wouldn't change overnight. Now they're doing that more and more, and even the US dollar has kind of lost its trust. So yes, that is another thing.
So just related to this, so for asset protection, you will say that with interactive brokers, you will go for an individual account. Why? How does it make sense for asset protection for privacy? How does that make sense?
Now, the thing is, like, if I am a resident of Paraguay and I register there, I'm still protected by the non-CRS thing. And secondly, I trust interactive brokers and I trust Paraguay. What I'm kind of shaky about is the LLC. You know, because it's a very good scheme. I don't know, they could change it, who knows.
What about a trust?
Yes.
Rather, because you can open interactive brokers with a trust.
Of course, in that case, even better. Like if you have a trust, if you have a foundation, and you have a proper vehicle just to hold your assets, even more so, remove them from the LLC and bring it to the vehicle, whether it's a trust or a foundation or an offshore company. Yeah. Yes, did that respond to the question? Okay, amazing.
Right, so we have a US visa, right? We look for the US for business. Once we go trickling to the US and you're in a trip for a week, you know, you get sometimes to go to secondary screening, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there they ask you for your annual tax return. Or for example, like travel to Japan, you know, they ask you to go to the consulate and get a Japanese visa and everything. All these times I have to present a tax return. In Brazil, I have this is the RFK, right? It's really easy to present this, but Paraguay doesn't have such a consolidated document, right, that I can present and say, this is how much income I have.
There is an annual tax return, and there is a separate attachment where you can disclose foreign income. Now,
How legit, how trustworthy is that? Because once it's issued by the government, that's one thing, right? The other one is like an accountant doing that, so it's less.
the thing is that everything is digitalized in Paraguay. You have this declaration with no specific QR code. It's like when you download your IVAs, for instance. In Paraguay, fine, they know it's your IVA. But even then, if you want to Photoshop it, I'm not incentivizing anyone, but it's very easy, So maybe if I was Japan or the US, I would look at that and be like, I don't know. So the thing you can do, which is maybe more proper for a thing like that, is to raise your economic activity in Paraguay on the local tax return, which is a QR code and everything else, and that can be presented to anybody. And this could be, for instance, again, just if I want to show that I'm moving money around, I can just be doing real estate operations, moving money around very fast, getting capital gains, paying capital gain tax, my 2.4% of the value of the house, which is the whole thing, capital gain tax. There is no IVA on the sale if you have a cedula, which is another reason to have a residency when you do this type of operations. And just with that, one or two houses, and boom, I've moved $75,000, $150,000, paid taxes on it, blah blah blah. It's a good tax return. So that is, for instance, a way just so you can just throw stuff into your tax returns, which is also useful in Paraguay to have bank accounts, everything else, credibility, financing. For instance, my next real estate deal, almost certainly, now that I financed the second car of the company to see what's up with that. And I discovered that Itaú had a pre-approved line for me of like $100,000 that I could show up at Itaú. If I asked anything less than that amount, any banker in Itaú was allowed to say, okay, on the spot. And I'm like, okay, I'm getting charged 10.4% a year, but I can make 17, maybe 15% in 6 months and just close it. You can early repay without any penalties, so why not? So, for instance, my next deal is going to be done through that, which is another reason to move money around in your tax returns, right? So that is a very, very easy thing you can do to be making money and at the same time increasing your substance in Paraguay, which is also good. If you were audited from Brazil, for instance, you see, no, I'm doing stuff in Paraguay, you see? So all of that actually plays into the games. If it's for visas, it's a very good
thing. That, because I want to stay here maybe like a week, a year, right?
Okay.
So the plan is, based on your experience, like how trustworthy is like people that have business abroad, right? They do the tax return here. They have the accountants doing that annual paperwork every year. Like, from your experience, is that something that people have and works well for them?
For tax purposes, yes. I mean, for tax audits and everything, yes. Now, for visas, I am not super certain because we didn't really have many cases with visas or feedback from clients, which is generally good. Like, if we didn't have many feedback from clients, generally because things went well.
If you have your business outside and that business, you have dividends, you reside here, you have your residence here. Do you need to do the tax return here, or do you just simply
if you have a RUC, you're mandated to do the tax returns, yes.
So for all your worldwide income, then it's zero.
No, yeah, actually that is not mandatory. So you don't necessarily have to disclose your worldwide income because Paraguay doesn't care, doesn't tax it. But if you want, you can, which is good because you can show transparency if you were audited by a third country or anything. So I do it. I recommend doing it because, I mean, it's just plain better. You have more transparency, more paperwork. If the bank asks, you have it, everything is fine. Now, what is a little bit different in this case is that in the US, I know especially for Brazilians, they're kind of tough with visas. What she was saying, though, as a point, because, for instance, I can be showing the annual shareholder meeting in which there was X amount of dividends paid out to me. I can show, well, if it's an LLC certificate, for instance, it's the certificate of incumbency, which is documents showing I am the owner of that LLC. I can be showing my 1140 and 5472, which are the 2 yearly tax returns I send out for my LLC to show that I made that money, So that is good. And if it's a different type of company, you'll have different type of documents if it's not a US LLC, but you can show that to your name anytime.
If it doesn't work, I'll let you know. But hopefully.
Hopefully it will. Okay, frontline.
Yes, you know that I just arrived here, so I have done all my process now, okay? I have been in Australia for 8 years, so I have like a few bankers, like in Australia, I have a BQR, Australian BQR, and I have like São Paulo in Italy with
That is fine.
Italian address, unfortunately, because I forgot to change.
Mm.
And but all the other banks, they have the Australian address.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when can I change my address, like even for my Stripe and my LLC?
Well, the easy answer when it comes to Intesa San Paolo is when you at least have submitted your application to AIRE, which is a specific Italian thing, because in Italy everything revolves around the AIRE. In all other cases, generally when you have a proof of address in Paraguay.
Okay.
Now, will they ask for a cedula in an Australian bank? I don't know the answer, but the procedure is you ask the bank, hey, I'm moving to Paraguay. First thing, check that it's supported. Then, okay, it's supported. Then you go like, okay, guys, I am in the process of moving to Paraguay. I have already applied for my residency. I already have a proof of address, but my official identity card is going to come in 2 months. Okay. Should I change my address now? Should I change it later? And if you ask 5 banks, you'll get 5 different replies most commonly. So that is the way to operate. Or other than in Italy, where everything is centralized in the AIRE.
But the AIRE, you can do it only when you get the cedula.
Yeah.
7 days.
Because they want to have a copy, right?
They
need to have a copy.
No, it's an email. Sorry.
I mean, they want you to show your residency, at least this is what I've been doing for the past.
Yeah. You have to upload online the scan of your cedula and the proof of address.
But you cannot do it if you don't have cedula. So we are now in the process, so you cannot do it until you cannot do this just with like a rental agreement or.
Kind of, you can just to already start forming the queue.
Right. And then you say it will come, the cedula will come, and then I'll send you in 2 months.
Yeah, on the website there is no properly written. You need a cedula and the proof of address. They say upload the documents. So it can be anything. But then, yeah. What happens?
But Australia, with the address in Australia.
Of course, no. Well, you will be able to change the address in the Italian bank account to Paraguay once you have the AIRE in Paraguay. Now, the thing is, they're slow, very slow, months. So since they already have that, if you already filed the application with random paperwork, then they will reject it and say, you need to provide us a cedula and a proof of address. But by the time they reject it, you will have them, and you just, and you will reply to the email, and immediately, or the next day, they will be registering you. But in the meantime, imagine that I go to the check-in at the airport. It's a super long queue. And Manuela is my passport, and she's somewhere having lunch, I start forming the queue. Right. Then Manuela comes with my passport while I'm already halfway, instead of just waiting outside of the queue for her to finish and then forming the queue.
You have a 90 days. You have. I'm not sure if you have. You have a 90 days grace period from the time that you arrive. Let's say that you just moved to the country. Right? From the time you have a 90 days grace period. From the time you arrive to the time that you have to formally register. This
yes.
Is what they used to do. I'm not sure if this is.
But in the end, like now, what I should do, like with all the address that I have in all this bank?
Change it.
Change it to Paraguay.
Yeah.
And you guys gonna give the address soon? Or?
There is a proof of address service that you can have either before or after BABM. Do we know who these people are? I don't think. You can have the proof of address now. You can have it later, as you wish. Generally, people get it when they get the cedula, but you can have it even from now. The thing is, if you're not staying, use the proof of address service, because, of course, you need an address. If you're staying, because I understood you're staying.
Not now. I will come back on February.
Okay. At that point, honestly, one thing that you can do is this. If you're coming to stay in February, just wait to do the IRA in February when you have the cedula. Then we go and have a coffee, if he doesn't go away before, but I don't think so, we just get a coffee with the Italian ambassador. This is something we've done in September, for instance. He's a very cool guy from Rome, like super, super fun. And yeah, no, he's a cool guy. And he just he stays, when he's at the embassy, he's like, doesn't have much to do, so it's very cool. And so in September, we went there with a lot of Italian guys. We were like 15, some of them waiting for the IRA for a year.
Oh, wow.
Salvatore was for 13 months waiting for the IRA. Now, of course, Salvatore is from Catania, and there's a chance the problem is in Catania.
Most likely. I'm from Calabria, the same. So.
Yeah. Who was from? There was somebody from Calabria when we went there that day. Yeah. The bald guy is forgot his name. Pietro. Another very cool guy. And we were like complaining, and he said, okay, send some emails. Each of you sends an email, and then in a week or so, everyone was into the IRA.
So then
we do it the Italian way,
So for right now, like on the bank, I try to put like the address that you're gonna give me, and change to Paraguay. And if they ask the cedula, we'll wait when we have. In the meantime, it's better to change any address.
In the meantime, technically, it's not a problem because you're in grace period for any of them. It's not a big deal. But
believe me, this is something from the past because I haven't.
No. But that is always the case in reality because he didn't even spend 183 days in Paraguay. So at the end of the day, it's fine for now. You can wait until you have the cedula. But of course, when you have the cedula, do it because otherwise they can block your account at any time, and it's a problem.
Okay, just this one. And I wanna. My last question is, my situation is, I have like more than 60 clients worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays I started a collaboration with another agency that become like mine, but it's not mine on the name. It's an SRL. And we have like 25 Italian clients.
Not a problem.
B2B. When I need to get the money from them, I'm gonna invoice them, but the amount, it's a good amount. So I'm gonna have issues to invoice them with the LLC.
No.
Okay, no, I can just invoice them and as consultant, and like to get the money here, I just do the invoice with my LLC.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Yeah. Again, another thing you can do is to use OneSafe, or by the way, I didn't try yet. This is on the to-do list. Supposedly, AgliCash now has AgliCash Business, and they onboard LLCs. They even onboard Paraguayan companies, etc. This is something that they should have started on Monday, but of course, Monday I wasn't here to try, so I'm curious. What is the cool thing about both OneSafe and AgliCash about that? OneSafe kind of not so cool because some of our clients have been trying like 3 different bank accounts and none of them was happy to send to that IBAN they give you. With AgliCash, I never had this problem. Is that they can pay in euros and you can automatically on-ramp to crypto and send the crypto down here. If you want to change by cash, use the cash to pay the rent or whatever, to put it into the ATM and put it onto your bank account, so on and so forth. So if it's bigger amounts, since it's, if you invoice with the RUG, then you'll be tax liable and everything else. One chance is to just do the OneSafe or AgliCash banking, bringing crypto to Paraguay, or ramping the crypto, and now you have the money here in the form of cash. But if you stay in Paraguay, you'll understand that cash is king.
Okay, understand.
In Paraguay, cash is really king. So, right?
Cool. I just want to go through my understanding of what my structure is, and then just confirm it with you.
Mm-hmm.
So I just got here a week ago, and I plan to be here full time.
Nice.
Probably from next year.
Okay.
When I get in my plans. But I guess so. The way I understand it is get my residency here, and then the way everyone does it is you get your residency and then you do a US LLC, and then if you're getting paid contract-wise or whatever, you just pay it through the LLC, right? So my understanding is with crypto specifically, right? Is it possible to just set up? I'm looking at a series LLC, right? And being able to I don't want to apply for an EIN because as I understand it, EIN you only need it if you're interacting with like a US institution, right?
No, the EIN is necessary to open a bank account for any LLC,
Right.
and it's
A US institution, right? Financial institution.
yes.
So like you only need an EIN if you want to interact like with a USLC if you want to interact with a US financial institution, right?
Yeah, or anywhere they are gonna ask for your tax identification number, which can be a crypto exchange, which can be that is your tax identification
Right.
number for the LLC.
If you have say crypto and you have like a crypto address and it's tied to a USLC, you don't need an EIN to set up like a wallet address, right? You just set it up, you receive the crypto, it's done, right? You don't need an EIN for that, right?
No, technically speaking, if it's a cold wallet or whatever, no. The point would be now you have crypto that is very hard to bank.
Yeah.
But again, real estate or other things, etc., and you turn it into something.
Yeah. So then I would have to apply for the EIN, right? And
It's very hard to bank that money. Like I've met people that came here and said that for 2 years they've been living their whole life with P2P.
yeah.
And it's doable, but it's really a headache, you know. So.
Right. So get the stable coins in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then if you want to off-ramp it, you can do it P2P, which is obviously a headache, right? Because that limits and
Yeah, now there are crypto cards that are cool, like EtherFi, like
you can do like real
Cast.
banking, right? Like with crypto. So like,
yeah, to have a card, yes. To have a card, yes.
and off-ramp it, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you still need like an EIN for that, right?
No, because the card would be registered to your name, not to your LLC.
Oh, I see. So
You will need proof of funds.
you
but-
would do personal, then it'd be personal then, right?
Yes.
Okay, under your personal name.
Yeah.
Okay. So then the strategy isn't to open up an account, like a brokerage account. Like if I want IBKR, like you were saying,
Mhm.
you shouldn't do it under the USLC. You should actually just do it under your personal name.
Yeah. The
So
thing
then
is,
what's the point of the USLC then? It's just a structure for receiving funds. Why not just like receive it in your personal name then?
because you have to invoice your client somehow, right?
So just do it in your personal name, right?
Yeah, but if you do it in your personal name, you have to do it from a Paraguayan RUC, and if you
Oh,
do
I
it for a
see.
Paraguayan RUC, you will be
Okay.
tax liable.
Right.
That is the thing.
That makes sense.
That is the whole purpose.
Unless you have like tax residency somewhere else, right?
No, the only exception is you. So, technically speaking, let's say that if you have tax residency somewhere else,
Yeah.
then at that point, even though if you invoice through the RUC, you're still liable here. You can be exempt from VAT,
Okay.
but technically not on personal income tax. And if you have tax residency somewhere else, you will be tax liable in that country also.
Okay.
So it's really non-convenient. Now, in your case, the thing is that if you're really into Web3, people don't even need an invoice. You know, they're like just sending out crypto. They have BVI companies. They're. I know how people operate in crypto, so probably you don't even need an LLC because they don't care about the invoice.
Yeah.
It's a kind of a one of a kind. So you can be like just getting the crypto out of nowhere, but
as soon as you touch like Web 2, then you like actually need like a proper structure. So then what you're recommending is have the USLC and then just pay yourself out of it, like as like
yes,
whatever, and then pay tax on whatever you pay on it. And that's it. Then, like, that's like a way to do it. Right?
You're not even
You
tax liable.
cannot like spend the money of the LLC, like.
You can, but if you don't have an EIN, you don't have a bank account. You only have money into a cold wallet with no proper origin of funds, no tax returns even for the LLC, nothing. So it's like it's really like the same position as if you were a Mexican cartel selling drugs. You know, it's
So if you want to take out the money from the LLC to spend on in Brazil,
no, it's all good. If you invoiced it, you receive the money and everything is fine, you do it, no problem. If you do with MANU, for instance, you can get PIX also to be used in Brazil. That is all good, right? Because there is a clear origin of the money. It's declared in the LLC. You will have to declare how much money you have paid to yourself on the 5472. So there is a clear traceability of how did you get the money? Oh, I have invoices. To whom? To these people. Can you show they paid you? Yes. And then what happened? I paid myself. Can you show you paid yourself? Yes. And it's all very traceable. Got me?
Okay.
But if you don't have an EIN, you don't have any of these documents going around.
So yeah, if I invoice with the RUC, the money that I take, I can put in another bank, example, to spend somewhere else.
Of course. If you invoice with the RUC, you can put it in a Paraguayan bank. You can put it anywhere if you invoice with the RUC.
Okay.
So then when does it make sense to like actually use like USLC versus just banking in a USLC versus doing it in your personal name?
The thing is, you generally have both, right? So when the client pays an invoice from the US LLC, it can't pay in your personal bank. It will pay into your
Stablecoin wallet.
Yeah. Okay. But you were mentioning just stablecoins. Okay. Perfect. In that case, there is not even a way to save the stablecoins wallet. I'm assuming it's not tied to a centralized exchange, right? Because otherwise,
maybe.
Now, if it's tied to a centralized exchange, you will have to have the EIN, because when you subscribe, you will need to input your EIN.
Oh, right. No, it isn't. No,
If it's a DEX wallet, who knows who owns it? No one owns it at the end of the day. So there is not even a way that anyone can know if it's your LLCs or your own, right? It's just a decentralized wallet. It exists in its own little bubble.
Okay.
So at that point, it's irrelevant at that point.
Okay, so then if I'm receiving these stable coins into this wallet that no one really knows whether it's like part of a USLC or like my personal name, if I want to off-ramp it, right, to actually use it, do I do that under a USLC structure, or do I do that under
No, because if you want to off-ramp in any way under your USLC, any service that will provide that service will need an EIN.
Okay.
So the only way you can do it is under your personal name, and it's really kind of like laundering your money.
But there's no problem getting an EIN, right? If it's like
No. In fact, that was also that would have been my question. Like,
no, the fun thing.
Why?
Funds a clean source of origin. I'm just a privacy maximalist, so I care about privacy, right? And
but you will give out the information anyways when you form the LLC. So you won't give out any extra information to get the EIN.
From what I understand, though, like setting up a series structure, you give out less information.
If you wanted to form a BVI company or St. Kitts and Nevis company, for you, it's perfectly fine.
Okay.
Perfectly fine. It's way more private. You can bank with OneSafe, for instance. You can bank with UglyCash. And in that case, you will have way more privacy. And you can still properly invoice, properly have a bank account, and so on and so forth. The USLC is not a private structure by itself.
The Wyoming one, like tax,
You disclose everything.
But
who you are, where you reside, what's your foreign tax identification number.
I thought just doing the bare minimum, just opening up the structure, it's registered agent.
Everything is the registered agent will need all this information.
Because I was looking at the series, and you could just like have the first member of the series LLC as like a wallet address. That's what I looked into.
If you have your own LLC, you will disclose all this information.
Okay.
And even up to all the ultimate beneficial owners. So even if your LLC was owned by a St. Kitts and Nevis company, you will have to still trace back to an ultimate beneficial owner.
And if I'm investing here, does it matter if it's a USLC or
No.
a BVI?
No, at all.
Okay.
At all.
And banks, like Paraguayan banks, are fine with that?
No, Paraguayan banks aren't fine with the LLC, aren't fine with the BVI, aren't fine with anything else. Absolutely. And especially aren't fine with crypto. So you will still need to turn your crypto into something that you can say.
You just pay yourself, pay the tax, and they're fine.
Exactly. Or you just simply what you do is like you transform this crypto into something you can sell with a registered contract and be like, I've sold this. Whether it's a Rolex, whether it's a car, whether it's a piece of real estate, whether it's a plot of land, but you can be like, I've sold a plot of land.
They will not ask how you bought the plot of land?
No, because it's of course, banks don't even care, of course. They just need to collect the document, Banks don't care where your money comes from. Banks care about not being sanctioned. So they just follow the checklist they are given by the central bank not to get sanctioned. So if what you need is a proof of funds, this is your proof of funds. One document that justifies where the money is coming from. That's it.
You also said people just put cash in the ATM, put it on their account. There's no complications, questions from the bank this year?
As long as you are covered by your proof of origin of funds, no. Covered, what does it mean? Either the median average of your last 6 months of tax returns. So if you're invoicing from your RUC 70 million guaranis per month, which is approximately $10,000, and you deposit all of those 70 million guaranis every month in cash, no problem, because you're under what you can justify having invoiced from your RUC. If you say I have sold a house and the guy paid me in cash, which happens in Paraguay, and by the way, it's not like that doesn't really happen. It does really happen. Again, you go to the bank and you say, I've sold a house, they gave me this cash, this is the contract of which I sold the house, period.
No, what I meant is it came across like you could just go put money in the bank and just put it in your account. But where I'm from, they're gonna ask 100 questions. They're gonna block your accounts, everything. Even if you put like 1,000 a month. 2,000.
No. Like what I'm saying is that they will only question you if your limits on if you're depositing more cash than what you have justification for. Okay.
But let's say you don't have any company, nothing here yet. You just come, get a residency, you bring some money which you have proof of funds of. But now tomorrow you just go and put some cash in the machine.
If you go to the bank and you show them the proof of origin of funds from abroad, of which you will need an apostille and the sworn translation in Spanish, the bank will say, so you have to do this first. The bank will say, okay, you have sold a car for $30,000. And then you're like, and here are the $30,000 in cash. The bank will say, okay.
Okay, so you have to do this before you deposit the money. Okay, I understood like you just go to the ATM and put money in the wall and it goes to your account. And then there's no bank asking any questions, yeah?
No, as we were saying before, this loops to the first question. If you have a basic account, okay, where
Personal account.
yeah, but the personal account can be basic or full. If you have a cuenta básica, the basic account, you are capped at 8 million guaranis a month. Okay, that doesn't require any proof of origin of funds, nothing. But it has a hard limit of 8 million guaranis a month. Whether you receive a wire transfer from Paraguay, whether you put it in cash, whether I don't know, someone else goes to the ATM and deposits it into your account, you can't receive money from abroad when you have a basic account. But that's the limit. 8 million guaranis a month, no questions asked. Whether it's cash, whether it's anything, no problem. If you want to remove that 8 million guaranis a month as a limit, you have to prove original funds for something over 8 million guaranis a month, and then you will be allowed to put that money into your bank account in the form you want, whether it's cash or transfers or anything, it's fine, but only up until that threshold. Okay?
Okay, my question is, when we become a resident in Paraguay, and we one day want to become a resident in Paraguay, as a Mercosur resident, how does the process differ, or there's no...
Doesn't change anything. Yeah.
So it's still the same process if you want to go back to Chile, Brazil.
And it's the same for them as well here. Even if they're born there, even if they're citizens.
So
Mercosur, why?
Mercosur is economic. It's not really about movement of people. Now, there is a lot of incentives, for instance, to do something like, oh, in Brazil, if I want to import the steel to make this is a real example, for instance. A company that produces steel in Brazil was telling me that they import the iron from Chile. And this comes with like a 20% tariff or 25%, I don't recall. And then they produce tubes. They just twist it, turn it into tubes, square or round tubes. What happens if they produce that in Paraguay and they export to Brazil? In Paraguay, we have a law called Maquila, which, among other things, says that you can import anything that is not produced in Paraguay, including steel, which is not produced in Paraguay, tax-free. Okay, so they wouldn't pay that 20% tariff. They would turn it into a tube here, and then they would export it to Brazil. Now, since that tube is coming from a Mercosur country, we have special agreements that the tariffs are either zero or extremely low. So another thing is like, you want to produce something with parts from China, you import the parts from China, not into Brazil directly, because you're going to get charged heavily. You import them into Paraguay with the maquila, you form the product, and then you sell it in Brazil. And Brazil now will say, if 40% of the added value of the product is added in Paraguay, and so the product is considered made in Paraguay and not in China, it comes from Paraguay, zero tariff. So that is the real deal with Mercosur. And another kind of thing that is cool about Mercosur, we also tested it out. You can travel around Mercosur just with your cédula, technically even only if you're a citizen of that country, but apparently no immigration officer knows about that. So actually in Argentina...
Paraguay doesn't allow double passport.
Technically it's true, but they don't enforce it, yeah. Technically it's true, but they don't enforce it. Yeah. You kind of make a sworn declaration, you'll renounce. So you just swear, I will renounce. But then...
So, okay. How likely is to get the passport?
If you're not living here, not possible. If you're living here for 3 consecutive years during permanent residency showing economic activity and registered goods to your name, which are either registered goods basically come down to real estate and cars. Is there any other registered good? Well, yes, boats.
Land. Can it be land?
But real estate also includes land. boats, planes, vehicles like trucks. Those are registered goods. You have to present all these documents along with other certificates that are very easy. They are the ones that also we apply for during the residency, etc. But the kind of three biggest problems you have are the the registro migratorio, which states exactly when have you entered and when have you left the country every time you did so. So if you can show that Paraguay was really your home and you just went out for, I don't know, business trips and holidays, no way. Then you have the registered goods. So it's actually important to show that you own some registered goods in Paraguay. And lastly, what is the other document that is kind of a problem? The tax returns. They want to see that you have kind of had movements in Paraguay, but like solid movements, not, just minimum salary here and there. Like pretty good movements. Even better if you have hired somebody. With all of that, you go for the test, the quiz, pass the quiz, and in 9 to 12 months, they'll give you the passport.
Well, may just follow up to this one. On the group chat, there was some information that they are requiring some kind of a paper to passport when you're leaving. That yellow paper kind of a thing. Is it to track for this migratorio movement and check your whether you really stayed or not in Paraguay, or was this...
No, that yellow paper, the residencia precaria, doesn't per se create any registration. So when you travel in and out of Paraguay, the two documents that are important, so the ones that they put into the database are either your passport number or cedula number. Okay, and when you are at the Paraguayan airport, whether traveling in or traveling out, you use the cedula. They scan it, then they ask you to take a photo of you, and then you're let go. And so with that, it feeds into the registro migratorio that you've either entered or left the country. And with that, of course, you have the full proof of every time you've been in and out. Now, of course, if you cross into Brazil, passing by Ciudad del Este, or even more so, Pedro Juan Caballero and Ponta Porá, which for those who don't know is one big city, half of which is in Brazil, half of which is in Paraguay. You can never tell where you are unless you know the city very well. There's more than 100 streets in which you can cross. Like altogether, there's kind of 400,000 people living in this conglomerate. Of course, in that case, it's different because there's no checks and everything. You just go in and out and in and out and in and out. So if you're from Brazil, you kind of can get away with just going to Brazil, not saying anything, and it'll still appear like you've been in Paraguay the whole time. But if you intend to use the airport to get in and out, all the times it will be registered.
So in order to get out of Paraguay now, I will need to have this precaria something.
Residencia precaria? No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. The residencia precaria is just a precarious residency that is valid for 90 days, and you can call yourself a resident in those 90 days of validity. So when do you use it to travel? If, let's say that you came here on January 1st, okay, and you got your 90 days visa, which is valid up until April 1st. And you applied for residency on January 7th, okay? And now, just curiously, you're going away from Paraguay on April the 3rd. So if you don't want to get sanctioned for overstaying your visa, you will show that you're still covered by your 90-day precarious residency. And if they see that your residencia precaria has not come out yet, which means that they have been too slow, that extends over the 90 days. So if it's been 100 days and you have the residencia precaria, just so you know, the people who work at the airport are the same people who work at Migraciones where you have applied for residency today. Okay? It's the same authority, so they know. If they see that you have overstayed your residencia precaria, but just because they haven't printed out their temporary residency yet, they will also let you just, okay, you didn't overstay, it's like their problem because they haven't prepared your temporary residency on time. So that is the only thing. But with us, you don't run the risk of not having your temporary residency ready in 90 days at
So
all.
I don't need to have any additional paper except my passport just to get out of Paraguay and
Yeah.
do my thing.
Well, no, if you will stay for more than 90 days, at that point, use the residency card, or if you already have it, of course, the cedula.
Or pay a fine.
The fine is fixed, by the way. It's, if I'm not mistaken, 650,000 guaranis, so a little less than $100.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if I go into Brazil with my cedula, then say I go to Sao Paulo and fly out of Sao Paulo,
No.
passport, that will trigger a lot of alarms, right?
That will trigger a lot of alarms because the first thing they'll ask for is, so the customs, when you go even in Ciudad del Este, etc., they're connected with the Brazilian ones. Okay, so if you didn't stamp out of Paraguay, whether it's with your cedula or passport, they will not stamp you in Paraguay. So in Brazil.
So the two sides are connected.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they have a website even called the Pre-Registro Migratorio, where you can even now go online and kind of registering that next Tuesday you will be crossing, and that does everything automatically for you. But yeah, and if you have the Pre-Registro Migratorio, when you are at the immigration, you don't have to queue nor anything. You just show that, and you're good to go. But it's registered on both sides anyways. So I've done a stupid thing the first time I came to Paraguay. I went to the Iguazu waterfalls, and we took an Uber from Ciudad del Este to Foz de Iguazu, so from Paraguay to Brazil. The guy didn't stop at the immigration. By the time we realized that he didn't stop, we were already on the bridge, so there's no coming back at that point. And that's it. So we crossed even then the next day to Argentina illegally to see the other side. We came back illegally. Then here comes the very bad idea. If we just came back to Paraguay illegally, all fine. But we took the bus. And little did we know that the bus forces everyone off at the immigration. And man, it was a very bad time. Like we stayed there like an hour. I didn't speak Portuguese back in the day, so I was just like trying to make the guy understand that I didn't know. The guy fucked us, and he was even like not a very happy guard, because it was like, it's not my problem if the Uber didn't stop. What are you gonna do? Kick me out? I'm kicking myself out. I'm going away. What are you gonna do? Jail me? So and now my parents, for instance, are fighting the consulate. Of course, after this experience, when my parents came for the wedding, I told them, like, make sure you pass all the borders, all the controls, everything very well. Elias, for those who have met our driver, put a friend of his to drive their car to go and see the waterfalls. We told them like 16 times, and they were repeating that to themselves, so I know they got the memo. They didn't stop. They came back. Actually, they did stop on the way there, but not on the way back. So they're kind of still in Brazil. And now they are at the consulate. They're fighting with the consulate in Milan. That Brazil is saying, yeah, we can tell the Polícia Federal. But then the other guy says, no, we can't really talk with the Polícia Federal about that. And then they asked even to the Italian ambassador, whose reply was that, it doesn't matter. Don't stress. That's why it's became very Paraguayan, the guy, So yeah, no, it's a bad idea to try and cheat the system because of unless you have the Brazilian passport and just cross in and out and be like, even if they stop you in Brazil, it's fine because you just have your Brazilian passport and in all other cases, I wouldn't suggest trying that luck. They wouldn't stamp you in, and it's gonna be a little bit random.
Guns.
We had almost made it.
How easy or how hard is it to bring in a gun from another country?
Nowadays, imports from private individuals have been suspended after some problems after the big operation in Rio de Janeiro. Paraguay declared the two biggest cartels they have in Brazil, called PCC and Comando Vermelho, or CV, if you want to cut it short, as illegal terrorist organizations. And due to that, they have they probably killed more people than they have done in Rio. It's just that Paraguay doesn't like to have so much press about it. And they're really cracking down, especially because the biggest concentration of criminals is in the exact area where they are really betting a lot on the maquila and bringing Brazilian companies to do business here. So they kind of, we also faced resistance during our trip with the entrepreneurs. They were like, oh, Ponta Porá, Pedro Juan, too many cartels, and blah, blah, blah. And they're really like cleansing the streets. Due to this, all imports of weapons have been suspended unless you had a prior license, which is kind of hard. Now, it's easy to get a license to keep a gun in your car or house. It's not easy at all to have a license to carry guns, because you have to prove that you are in either job that requires that, or that you are a very exposed person, like you've received, threats, exactly, yeah.
And to get a license, you say it's easy. Do you get it on a temporary resident, or do you need to have a permanent resident?
Generally, you can get it with the cédula, because when you have the cédula, at the end of the day, the reality is that in Paraguay, like within the boundaries of Paraguay, no one cares about your residency card. No one. It's always about having a cédula. Everything will move through the cédula. You will never get asked to show your residency card once. Put it in your safe, keep it there, forget about it until you have to convert. It's useless.
And is it true that you don't even have to have a safe to store your weapons?
No, it's like, you just keep it there, it's fine.
Not toy guns.
Yeah. That's approximately what I would do if I had an independent house, and not even that you will need it, because it's very unlikely that you will need it, but to feel like kind of safer. I think it's more a placebo effect than it is a real necessity. Luckily, because now, when you're traveling to the Chaco, if you're doing then you bring it in your car because of wild animals being actually potentially dangerous. But on a safety, actually, it's unlikely. Now, there is a third type of license, which is in between the first two, which is to carry empty weapons, which is given to basically transport companies who are transporting empty weapons to their final stores, but that is pointless. So the reality is that the only easy one is to have the one for your house and car, and that one only requires a clean criminal record check and a psychological aptitude test, and with that, and your cédula, and with that you can get it. It's pretty straightforward.
I think pretty much all of my questions have been answered. I just wanted to ask, well, tell me a little bit more about your proof of address service.
The proof of address service is a service that gives you a proper domicile in Paraguay, in a proper apartment/house, where you get three pieces of information to prove your address there, which are rental contract, utility bills of the utilities that can go to a renter.
Yes, okay.
Because like water and electricity in Paraguay only go to the owner per se.
Yeah.
But you can get Wi-Fi, landline phone, satellite TV or cable TV. So those, yes, can be achieved.
Okay.
And finally, you get the Certificado de Vida y Residencia, which literally translates to life and residency certificate, which is the proof of address we use in Paraguay.
Yeah.
The ones that the banks ask, the ones that the insurance asks.
Internationally?
Yes, the first two are the ones that generally at an international level, they require either a rental contract or bank account statement or electricity bill, right? Internally in Paraguay, none of that matters. The only thing that matters is the Vida Residencia. So kind of the first two are for KYC, banking, LLC purposes, and the last one is for local banks, local insurance, and local dealings in general. And you can receive correspondence of any type, and when you receive correspondence, you get notified. You can either have it scanned and uploaded onto the platform, or you can have it just kept close and forwarded to you. The service costs $400 a year, or if you put it in the bundle, of course, the bundle is $750, including the accounting. And generally, when you have a couple, you don't necessarily need to pay twice. You can only pay it once, because in Paraguay, for the way contracts work in Paraguay, you always have a renter. And maybe my Peruvian friend can help me out with translating codeudor. We never actually found a way to translate this codeudor. It's a person that, it's a person that will pay if you don't.
Okay, a guarantor.
A guarantor.
Okay.
So because of that, there's always two names on the contract anyways, and that means we can include the second person right there.
And this is a service you offer?
Yeah, correct.
Oh, okay, great, okay, perfect, okay. I think I actually saw it in our contract say, yeah.
You mentioned before that it's up to us to either join the service right away or wait for the cellular and kind of things. To that particular, do you have the experience that if you want to already provide a KYC, for example, with our proof of address here in Paraguay, would they also ask you for the cellular as an extra document, or would they?
It depends on where, because for instance, in a lot of services, what you see, like the thing I see the most nowadays, is that when you provide an identity document, it can even be your passport, and then they ask for the proof of address to prove your residency. So that means that even a lot of times, if I don't have my cedula on me, especially if I'm traveling, and I have the passport, I will take a photo of the passport, which doesn't say anything about Paraguay per se, and then use the proof of address to register.
Because, particularly with the LLC, potentially for the bank account of the LLC, instead of providing my current residence, which may disclose a lot of things that disclosed, I can already use the.
Sure, of course, of course.
If they don't ask for anything else, I still use my passport, but then I'm already, say.
Exactly. Exactly. It's very rare to find a service that for identity document only accepts one that is issued in your country of residency. I think MANU asks for it because they are really familiar with local dealings, and especially American banks tend to always accept the passport also because in the US, they don't have the cedula. They only have the driver's license. It's there. And by the way, if you don't have a driving license, kind of you don't have an ID, that blows my mind about how things work in the US. So they are very, very fine with the passport,
And if we join the service, we will have this documentation available on day one, or would it be?
To process the Vida Residencia, which is the one that takes a little bit, it's going to be 3 business days, give or take.
But all the rest, within 1 week, everything.
Yes.
Okay.
But Mercury doesn't have issues with Paraguayan residents?
No, not at all. Well, Stripe in a certain sense only connects to your bank account, right? So the Stripe per se, I don't even recall if I had to input a proof of address into Stripe. Per se, it's just like everything is good, but if you have to receive the funds, you have to connect a bank account, and we just assume that the bank has done your due diligence. So I don't recall inputting that information onto Stripe when I connected Mercury. Our Stripe goes into Mercury, and Mercury, of course, everything is registered to Paraguay. On Stripe,
I couldn't set up a Mercury account with my Peruvian company.
No, Peruvian company, no. It's a US LLC, of which the beneficiary is in Paraguay. That's what he was saying.
Wise is not.
No, Wise not. Wise and Revolut, for instance, they don't accept LLCs whose beneficial owner resides in Paraguay. Wise, for instance, had what was it, 1 or 2 years ago, there was no problem. And then, it was last year in August, something like that. They just say, now we don't care about where your LLC is, we care about where the beneficial owner is. And like in 2 weeks, everyone had to change their address. It was like, bring the money out, and I was really.
Which bank do you recommend for us to use for Stripe? Because I have like pound, British pound, I have USD, okay, Mercury, Euro, Australian dollar.
Jeeves would be the best bet. They don't really love when you have the reality is that they don't, at the end of the day, they don't care. So when they ask how much is your monthly volume, even if it's not, just say that it's over $100,000. Because if it's lower than $100,000, you don't pass the automatic check because they only onboard the kind of like bigger, let's say, volumes. But for instance, when we registered, I was like 100% we're going to use Jeeves every time from now on. It's just so cool. Then there are a few things I hate about it.
What is Jeeves?
Jeeves, Jeeves, is a bank that is for business and gives you multi-currency. Euros, US dollars, British pounds, and the last I think is Canadian dollars or Australian dollars. I'm really recall. Another very good one is AirWallex.
AirWallex?
Yeah, AirWallex with an X at the end. And actually, AirWallex is based in Singapore, and it's the banking provider for Jeeps. It's just that AirWallex is extremely random. Like if 3 of you want to onboard, 2 or 1 are going to be accepted and 2 or 1 are going to be rejected, provided that you have supplied the same information. And there is this weird thing in which some people are like let in immediately, like 2 minutes and the account is up and running. But if you don't get it like very fast, say within an hour you don't see approval, it means that you will get a request for information. You can even avoid sending it. If you get the request for information, it's done.
What is the benefit of Jeeves over Xapo, for example?
Xapo doesn't accept businesses, does it?
Alexander, if you have like a Wise account today, and it's just a trial money, like you have $1,000.
It's fine. It's fine.
It's not a big problem.
No. Also because if they block you, that's what they're going to lose. So if you're happy to risk that money in exchange for using the service,
What do you
it's
think
fine.
would be the highest, like after 5,000?
Yeah, up to 5,000, it's doable. Yes.
Person-wise, you mean?
Yeah.
So what, it's better to remove the money now or like before you change the address? So,
Of course.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Eventually they have to pay it off.
Sorry?
They can't hold like even the 1,000 indefinitely.
Yeah, the thing is like, you know that you will get blocked at some point, but if you keep $1,000, let's say that they block me in 3 years. Okay, would I make the deal now that I'm happy to pay $333 per year to keep using Wise for 3 years? If my answer is yes, then let's do it, you know? On average, that's what it takes, 2 to 3 years before they block you just for that small amounts. Just seeing that your card has never been actually operating in your country of residency, supposed residency. Always you've been paying with other currencies, and it's just never operating in the way you're supposed to. And then they will, yeah.
And then just how many times can you renew your temporary residency?
I think it's up to 2 times.
Okay.
We never actually had a case of a person renewing temporary so far.
Just to, if you've got other passports that you want to hold on to.
But it doesn't affect.
Because are we allowed to have other passports as a
Of course,
is it?
of course.
Okay.
Now, she was referring to applying for the Paraguayan passport while having other passports. Technically, it's only allowed for Italians and Spanish.
Okay.
So if you're Italian or Spanish, they're like, fine.
So my residency doesn't get affected, it's only if I have a passport. Okay.
Correct.
So we are fine. We can have like.
Yeah, you can have a second one. For instance, one thing that I am not super certain about, and not to take the risk, I'm not applying. I never applied for the Paraguayan passport because I want to apply for the Brazilian passport, right? And if I apply for the Brazilian passport, technically speaking, again, double nationality, of course, is half of the Brazilians have the Italian passport. There's more Italians in São Paulo than in any city in the world. Really, more than in Rome, more than in. It's true. They outnumber Rome by like 100,000 or 200,000. Yeah.
For Mercury, you said that you opened a Stripe and Mercury. Did you see that when you try to do like all the process, they ask you gonna invest in something American, US in the next 12 months, something like that?
Yeah. Generally speaking, when you have that question in any bank account in the US, say yes.
Yeah.
Because if you have no economic connection to the US, they're very likely to reject your application.
Even if they ask if you're a convicted felon.
Yes. Well, that was presumable, wasn't it? Cheers, mate.
I had to because otherwise I could not go on.
Yes. You have to say yes. But actually, they, at least when I applied for Mercury, in the inclusion list were like paying providers. Providers can even mean my hosting provider, you know.
So nothing will happen.
No, but like honestly, if you are connected to the US always in some sense. You buy ads on Meta, you have a US provider.
Okay.
That's as easy as that.
And you can open up interactive brokers with a Paraguayan deal, right?
Yeah, absolutely,
Just to be
absolutely.
clear, you mainly answered this already, but what is the first document we get during the residency process that we can present to something like Charles Schwab or ID?
The first document you get in the process can either be your proof of address, because that is kind of unrelated to the residency process, or again, we are with the same kind of problem as before, right? You can onboard with the Schwab on your passport and Paraguayan proof of address.
Yeah.
You don't need to present the cedula necessarily to be considered a resident of Paraguay by Schwab.
But that is something we can get basically during the first 2 weeks.
You can get it even before you come to Paraguay, honestly, because at the end of the day, it's just a proof you have an address here, and there is kind of this discrepancy in the banking world where they accept any proof of address, but the person can have 5 houses around the
Yeah,
world.
well, that's the thing, that,
You know,
for
it's,
whatever purpose you can have it.
yeah. Now, there are banks that then after a while, like Wise, for instance, this is generally when your Wise then gets blocked, they ask you for your last 3 years of tax returns. And then, of course, if you don't have tax returns from the country that you have declared to be a resident of, the account goes. But up until that moment, it leaves.
But is this like a relevant risk with something like Schwab or ID?
No, because if in 3 years they ask you for your Paraguayan tax returns, you will have to.
Yeah. But if, say, I wanted to do 2025 officially as a resident of Paraguay, even though it's going to be 2026.
I mean, Interactive Brokers does not have a tax fiscal year, that is more about where you're going to declare your capital gains in 2025. But if you want to relocate your address on Interactive Brokers now, you can. So yeah, then of course, once you have the cedula, you can present the cedula instead of your passport, but you to the same outcome.
So actually by next, because I came today, so by next week, I could already have a proof of address here.
Yeah.
Okay, and I can give that to my bank back home.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to your bank back home, again, we have, when we're talking about U.S. institutions, it's always just the proof of address, and they always accept the passport. Depending on how the Netherlands do it, in Italy, we have to show that we are registered in the AIRE, which is the Register of the Italians who are resident abroad. And if we are not into that system, that we need the cedula to register into, we cannot change the address. And I know, for instance, in Brazil, if you don't do the saída fiscal, which is your official I'm out tax return, they won't give you a non-resident bank account. So you have to talk with your bank to see what documents they will need.
Okay.
There is a chance they want to see that. Maybe they even want to see the tax residency certificate. Like every bank has their own thing going, every jurisdiction especially.
The problem is I already deregistered before I came here.
Okay.
So now I'm a resident of nowhere.
Yeah, but in the Netherlands, that is fine. No, I know it sounds funny, but in the Netherlands, you have a grace period that is pretty generous, so it's fine. Yeah. No. In the Netherlands, you have like 6 months as a grace period.
Yes,
like, yeah.
There was a gray area in which I have time to get another resident.
Yes.
They won't like money.
Yeah. It's not a gray area. It's not like a confusion in the law. It's like a grace period. They state it officially. Like for 180 days, you can be a resident of nowhere. We're fine with it while you're getting your documents. But it's a green area. Like it's all legit. So it's all fine. Now, will the bank need to see some, I don't know, the cedula, tax returns, and tax residency certificate? That's really up to them. Yeah. And sometimes it's really up to who you ask inside the bank.
Yeah. Now, in the Netherlands, it's not like that. I heard here it's a little bit, everything works like it's about who you know, what connections you have, that you can get more things done. But in the Netherlands,
No. I'm not saying that one guy will give you privileges over another guy. I'm saying that a lot of times people that work at the banks are not familiar with non-resident bank accounts. And so they just in good faith give you a different answer.
Okay.
Because unless they have a proper checklist, which it's something kind of rare, honestly. So for instance, at the same bank, we use the same bank. In Italy, it's also like we're not in the 70s anymore, unfortunately. So it's not anymore about who you know inside the bank, but you will get different experiences based, for instance, on the branch. So the director of a branch gives certain instructions, and then everyone in the branch follows those instructions. The other director gives different instructions, and everyone at the branch follows different instructions.
How does it work in Paraguay?
In Paraguay, we don't really have the non-resident bank account. So as of, again, up until 2 weeks ago, you could only get a bank account with the cedula.
Yeah.
Now, starting 2 weeks ago, this bank called Interfisa, which you will find on the rear entrance of Shopping del Sol, apparently started opening bank accounts with the passport. It's kind of brand new. And so you guys can try and see what's up with that. Maybe share your feedback in the community. It's going to be nice to see what's going on with that. Because, of course, I can't. I have a cedula. So. Interfisa. Yeah, they have a very nice rooftop.
Can I buy a car without my cedula?
Yeah.
Just a passport?
Yeah. What is going to be hard, though, is to get an insurance for the car without the cedula.
Am I obligated to have insurance?
Yes. Yes. It's Paraguay, but it's like.
Is IRA the same thing as IRE?
Sorry?
Is IRA the same thing as IRE?
IRA.
You were talking about the Italian government.
I have never heard about IRA. IRE, IRE is the only one I know, and it's the Anagrafe degli Italiani Residenti all'Estero, and it's the only one we have. Now, IRA, maybe... Tu hai mai sentito parlare dell'IRA?
Perché stava parlando adesso.
No, he was also talking about IRE.
Yeah.
No, okay, like he has a very different accent than mine, so it may look like when we say IRE, he says IRA, but it's not.
Because he's from North Italy, from South.
He's from Africa, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Guys, it's been a very nice session. Sometimes longer. And check out the groups in the community because there's going to be the year-end party on Saturday.
You've got one more question.
Listen, ciao, a piacere.